Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Calling to order the Clark County Council, Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. We'll start with a proclamation on Homeless Persons Memorial Day. And is there someone from the community here to accept this? Was not sure. Okay, Councilor Young, thank you for reading this.
Spoke with spoke with Linda just last week. Maybe she wasn't able to make it today, but this is an important proclamation, and I would like to invite everybody in the community to come and be involved in this event that happens once every year at St. Paul's Lutheran Church in downtown Vancouver, where we come and we spend some reflecting moments on those that we have lost in the community that have been experiencing homelessness. It's an experience that I've been to many times, and I would encourage anybody to come and participate as well. It's outside. Bring your weather appropriate clothing because it is always bone chillingly cold on that night. But that's part of the purpose behind that meeting, is to give recognition for what the people endure when they live outside. And that is certainly not warm and comfortable conditions. So I invite everybody to come this year. If I remember correctly, is it on December 21st?
I believe it's on December 21st.
Yeah, December 21st. Thank you. So I will go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas December 21st marks the first day of winter and the longest night of the year, and whereas winter poses extreme hardship for unsheltered and inadequately housed members of our community, and whereas nearly 9,000 people in Clark County experienced homelessness in the past year, with more than 5,000 of those residents becoming recently homeless, and whereas the holiday season, rooted in compassion and generosity, calls for a sincere commitment to end homelessness, recognizing that lives hang in the balance. And whereas December 21st has been designated National Homeless Persons Memorial Day by the National Coalition for the Homeless and the National Healthcare for the Homeless Council. Now, therefore, we, the Clark County Council, do hereby proclaim December 21st, 2025 to be Homeless Persons Memorial Day. In Clark County, Washington, the council encourages all residents to take a moment of silence and remembrance of those who we lost to homelessness this year, to reflect on the challenges faced by those without safe and stable homes, and to support local efforts to eliminate homelessness in Clark County, dated this second day of December 2025, signed by all 5 Clark County councilors. And I just would like to thank St. Paul's Lutheran Church for the work that they do on this event, as well as all those in our community that are helping each and every day with those that are experiencing homelessness in our community.
Thank you very much, Councilor Young. Okay, moving on, would you join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for the invocation that will be provided by Carmen De Leon?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, given that everybody worships in a different way, I like to consider music. So, I have this one. It's only a partial. For those of us who believe and we welcome God, and for those who don't, you're not of our flock. So, we're not going to worry about that.
Spirit in the sky.
Yeah, and I hope to go to the same place too, because I am in the United States of America, but my people, my Mayan ancestors, they worshipped Kukulkan, they worshipped Itzumana, and in other countries, they worship Buddha, Hare Krishna, all other religions. And in this country, our forefathers said, on our dollar, in God we trust. Whatever version you have, great. But I just want to understand that I am a spirit. Hopefully, you understand we're all spirits having a once lifetime experience. And even if we last 100 years, that's still the blink of an eye in the space of eternity. And I choose to spend eternity with that great spirit in the sky. So I use it as an example. My God forgives, my God heals. And I'm asking, because I see this room full of spoiled people, not one quadriplegic, not one blind person. How spoiled are we to be able bodied and to be able to have this life? We are blessed abundantly. And I ask the Lord that those who will receive his blessing gain enlightenment to use our money wisely, because our blood, sweat, and tears goes into that money. And that's why they put in God we trust on the money, because we work hard for it. And we ask that you be good, what's it called? I forgot the word, but take good care of our money, make wise decisions. And for those of us who accept God, be with us, God. Walk with me. Anybody who chooses to ask God to walk with them, let it be so. And as I've said before, let peace reign on not just Clark County, but all of the United States and all of the earth. God bless you all.
Okay, thank you. Then moving on, are there any, roll call. I had to move up in the agenda here. Sorry. We got a long one. Let's do the
Counselor
roll
Young.
call.
Here.
Counselor Belcott,
Present.
Counselor Fuentes.
Here.
Counselor Little,
Here.
and Chair Marshall.
Here.
Thank you.
Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Chair, I'd like to remove separate business item number 2. This will come back in January. It's regarding the CRADC contract where there was a little edit that was made that we need just a little further clarification on. So it'll come back in January.
Okay, so separate item, business item number 2.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then moving on, we have a public comment and, we're convened as the Greater Clark Parks District Board. We also serve in that role, and we're going to have a public hearing on parks fees. So Ross Hoover and Jennifer Coker, thank you for being here. If you could give us an overview.
Thank you. For the record, I'm Jennifer Coker, Deputy Director of Public Works, and I'm here with Ross Hoover, Division Manager of Parks and Nature. So the action before you today is to consider a fee schedule update as the Greater Clark Parks District. We all agree that access to parks is essential, not only for recreation, but for community health, climate resilience, and equitable access to nature. This proposal outlines moderate and strategic updates to parking, picnic shelter, and meeting room fees to ensure fiscal sustainability. Why now for fee increases? Longstanding operations, I do want to underscore operating funds, not capital funds, structural deficits in regional parks and the Greater Clark Parks District have been accumulating for some time. This fee alignment is part of an incremental step towards a balanced recovery plan. Council adopted the equivalent fees in their role for the regional parks at the October 14th, 2025 council meeting. And this modest fee increase will generate approximately $63,200 a year in additional operating funds for the Greater Clark Parks District. Next slide, please. And next slide. The fee recommendations are as follows. And first, for the record, I do want to state that of the 111 parks and sites within our system, we only charge parking fees at 4 parks. Louisville, Frenchman's Bar, and Vancouver Lake, shown in the green, are part of the regional park system. We're here today focusing on the purple, which is the Salmon Creek Kleinline Park. Next slide, please. Parking fee annual pass recommendations for your consideration are as follows. The changes would be daily parking fees increased from $3 a day to $5 a day, 1 flat fee charged per vehicle. Annual passes will increase from $30 a year to $40 a year. The estimated additional revenue from this change is nearly $60,000. This still places us among the most affordable in the region. And a note, the last parking fee increase was in 2010, which was 15 years ago. Next slide, please. Parking shelter fee recommendations. We are recommending a modest flat $10 increase across all shelter sizes. The new rates are as follows. Capacity of 20 will increase to $60 a day. Capacity of up to 100 will increase to $85 a day. And capacity for up to 216 persons will increase to $160 per day. There are no hourly rates or weekend surcharges. However, we will consider how operationally we can move in that direction and report back to you next year, as that has been recommended by both you as well as our Parks Advisory Board fee. The additional revenue estimated from this change is about $3,600, and we are still one of the most affordable regionally. Next slide, please. And the last fee adjustment for your consideration is meeting room fee adjustments. Our recommendation is a 2-tier pricing. Fees right now will increase to $150 per hour. There will be a discount for local residents and nonprofits. The recommended rate for them will be $50 per hour. This still is the most affordable local option, and we're prioritizing community access. Next slide, please. As part of our balanced recovery plan and to modernize our park system and increase equitable access, I'm pleased to present the recommendation from the Parks Advisory Board, which has selected a new lineup of 12 free access days. They were presented with 3 different options based on council's recommendation to us. These are completely separate days from the days available at the Washington State Parks. And they chose a theme of nature, wellness, and community focus. You will see there is a day almost every day of the year, except for January, because the Washington State Parks has 2 days in January. These have, I think there's 5 Saturdays, a number of Sundays, Labor Day, and there's some wonderful theming from Groundhog Day, Kids to Park Day, Relaxation Day, Green Friday, which is the Friday after Thanksgiving. And so culminating on December 5th of next year, which is Volunteer Day. So I'm really pleased to show this to you. In addition, we will be locating annual parks passes in our libraries, so people will be able to check those out and continue to get the equitable access. This is part of this proposal. Next slide, please. Stakeholder and community input. We've been discussing this for quite some time now, starting in 2022. There have been subcommittee meetings, 3 public meetings, a 30-day public comment period, meetings with nonprofits and community partners. And in addition, prior to bringing this back to council this fall, we had several meetings with the Parks Advisory Board, both in September and again in October. Next slide, please. So in summary, this proposal includes 12 free access days and annual passes available in libraries. This is an enhancement of our services. It's not something we currently offer. Modest rate adjustments reduce the operation budget deficits. We conservatively estimate an additional $63,200 in additional funding, and Parks and Nature remains the most affordable in the region. These incremental fee adjustments support our balanced recovery plan. And that's all I have on this. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I do have a question. I thought I read that the Washington State Parks have changed their free days. Are you aware of that?
I did read that as well. And what we discussed at our Parks Advisory Board meeting when they recommended this slate of dates was that this will be an annual review process where we have an opportunity to shift and change based upon opportunities and needs of our community. And so we will likely do that on an annual or biannual basis.
Great, that
Yeah,
sounds good.
especially this is the first year. I imagine in October we'll look back, see how it went, and so it'll be similar, about a day a month.
Right, good. When I read that, I wondered, how is this going to shake out with what we're doing? So good to look at it every year. Any other questions at this time before we open it up to the public? Okay, thank you very much. Has anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes. Carmen De Leon?
Hi, it's me again, Carmen De Leon. I go by Mello. And I just wanted to say, fine, whatever, do what you got to do. But, you know, I'm surprised because I don't know how many days of the year in the summer y'all shut down because of the algae. And we can't use Vancouver Lake and we can't use Climbline. So how much of this money is going to cleaning up the lake? Because I like ice baby, because it would cool off the lake. And as I've stated before, but never got a phone call back, to bring icebergs and drop it in the lakes to cool them off, to kill the algae because the water is overheating. So great, you know, I mean, you want to charge another fee, go ahead, but can you at least fix the lake first so that people can actually swim at Climbline and swim in Vancouver Lake, which historically has been shut down, and my family already knows nobody goes to Vancouver Lake because the water is always dead, filled with algae. And that's why I say cool off the water, add ice and cool it off. So where's the money really going? Because there's no employees. One schmuck comes around every 2 weeks and empties the garbages. So, you know, I mean, just get real, make the parks swimmable. That would be awesome if we could actually go to Climbline and not fear our dogs dying because they drank the water and there's, you know, algae in it. As we know that on the Columbia River, they gave out the warning, don't let the dogs drink the water. Your dog may die. So I think algae in the lakes should be a priority. And also, is the money going to go towards bringing people in? Because you can't bring them in off swimming. You're already telling them, don't come. I already know that. But maybe we can make some bee-friendly stations where parents could come and, you know, at the Children's Museum and at the fair, they would have these little see-through beehives so people could come and appreciate the bees. So like, you know, like a phone booth, have a bee booth where people could bring their kids and appreciate nature before they're extinct forever. And, oh, I thought my minute was up, but I'm just saying, if you want to make, you know, improvements with the money, that's just fine. Because I really don't see a bunch of employees over there. And Mr. Little there talked about keeping the prices for disabled people like me. And I didn't see it in here in the final reading. I read the thing. You forgot. So of course, forgotten the disabled, I'm used to that. So anyways, maybe you could consider that and clean up the lake with ice. Thank you.
Thank you. One more? Online?
Caller, you've been sent a request to unmute. Please go ahead and do so. State your name for the record and only give your testimony pertaining to the public hearing that is going on right now. The park fees only, please.
Kimberly Goheen, Elvin. So again, this Parks Board or presenters, whoever is in on all this, we have people that tend to our open spaces in our parks. That's our right. We, the people, pay for that. But we're being overtaxed, and you guys are using our hard-earned tax dollars to keep a I'll say business open, knowing that you're spending our hard-earned tax dollars to keep people employed. So we do not ever want our parks and open spaces ever closed again. There's enough funding to pay the people to do what they need to do. Other things can be set aside. We don't need to cut the bushes down maybe on a year that we're having difficulties. But this council has allowed overpopulation pollution, and the result is overrunning our natural resources here in Clark County, Washington, USA. The parks cannot, I'll reiterate this, they cannot be closed down. This entity, the parks entity, need to tighten their belts. And I'm absolutely against any more fees being added on to what is already pretty costly for people. But again, you allowed this overpopulation pollution. And now those of us that are working hard and trying to keep afloat, you're going to tax us some more. So that is not right. I do not want you to pass this. They can live on what they have already of millions of hard-earned tax dollars here in our parks and recreation. Again, they're to focus on tightening down, not having the love of money, and realizing that the people are waking up to what is going on. This constant taxing, adding fees, doing this, doing that. You think you can get away with it. Well, one morning you're going to wake up and the people will be woke up too. And they're going to come after you for accountability as to their hard-earned tax dollars that have already probably been spent, right? So keep the budget down, keep those workers working. That's what we pay them for. We are the people. We pay for our public services. And all the rest of you guys can tighten up your belts, because we're not going to be taxed to death and feed to death just to keep you in employment. So cut down some of your employees at the top and get this done right. We're coming alive here now, finally. I'm more than thankful for that. But using our hard-earned tax dollars over and over and over again for something that you think we're asleep on, and we're not. We're going to wake up and hold.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Okay,
That concludes.
that concludes public comment. Are there any questions or comments from council?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. One question and a couple of quick comments. One was which, by the way, I want to again thank you for the excellent idea of having the library passes available so that people can check out essentially a free pass to go to park. But I was curious, is the ability to get those passes, is it online too, or is it physical only at the library?
My understanding is they're physical right now. Yeah.
Okay. And then just a couple comments that I'm sure you're probably planning to do already, but I just wanted to make sure that we kind of take a look at what the impact of these changes are. So, and that would be, it's, shelter use. Do we see a decrease potentially? Do we see the same level, or do we see growth? And then same thing with parking use, is our number of people using the parks going down because of that? And then I don't know if it's possible, but if we could measure the number of free passes that are used through the library, and then also pay attention to activity levels on the free days. I highly doubt it would happen, but I don't want to end up in a situation where the free days, the park's just so overwhelmed that people can't really enjoy it. So, but just those are some things to hopefully keep an eye on. But I appreciate this work. Fees increases are always hard, but we got to, keep our parks up to speed or people won't be able to enjoy them.
Okay, other comments? Go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to respond, give the opportunity for you to respond to Carmen's comments. She had a great idea about providing discounts for disabled military folks over a certain age. And we discussed it a couple times along with other ideas. Can you describe the process to consider some of these ideas for a future decision?
Yeah, thank you, Counselor. So yes, we did discuss that. in our discussions, we had for 2026, this would be an implementable plan for us moving forward. And the differential in past costs based on type creates some complexity in implementation. And so our intent was in this first year to set a one fee at all of the parks throughout the system and in the GCPD for simplicity of implementation. In future years, we would look at other potential ways of implementing various fees. And so I think what's important here is to understand the intent. One, that this is a mechanism to better fund and close the gaps within the park system's funding challenges. But two, at the same time, and mutually as important, ensuring that folks who can't afford to use the parks, given the fees, that there is a clear pathway for folks to enjoy nature and parks throughout the county. And that's the intent behind the free days and the free pass program. And so no matter who you are throughout the county, there is a way to visit parks without any cost. And an important asterisk here is that the one park within GCPD where this is going to be implemented and the three others within the county system are 4 parks of 111 sites. And at the remaining parks, there is no fee. And so one of our main goals and mission and purpose behind the system is that folks need to be able to enjoy it. And we think this accomplishes that.
Yep. Thank you for that, intent. And I just want to confirm that next year we'll have an opportunity to consider further opportunities to provide affordability issue options.
Yes, Counselor. And I was going to say that we do honor the veteran permanently and total disabled passes, similar to Washington State Parks. And yes, to respond to both of your comments, we will be looking at the data of how the park use changes. We have assumed a certain amount of revenue loss with this free pass system that balances these numbers we've shown you. And I do expect we will continue to refine and adjust these every year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, I'd like to make a comment. I want to thank you for the work that you've done. You've taken a very thorough and inclusive look at this, and that's appreciated. And I would just note that, in attempting to keep prices down, we've taken many, many years to increase to keep up with the needs for maintenance and all of the needs that our parks have, and parks play such an important role in our community. So thanks for your work on this. So Councillor Belcott, did you want to add anything at this time? Okay.
No.
Okay, thanks. So I'll entertain a motion to adopt. Well, we still need a motion in a second.
Sure.
Yes.
I motion to pass ordinance number 2025-12-01.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. And this is a roll call vote. So take it away.
Counselor Young,
Aye.
Counselor Belcott,
Aye.
Counselor Fuentes,
Aye.
Counselor Little,
Aye.
and Chair Marshall.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Now moving on to our next. I overlooked approval of the minutes. We meet just once a year, and so we have minutes from December 3rd, 2024. Hoping people had a chance to take a look at those minutes. And are there any corrections or changes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Been
A
moved.
second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Then our next public hearing is on the 2026 Greater Clark Parks District budget. And we have Jennifer and Russ still
Thank-
here to describe this.
Thank you very much. Ross Hoover, Division Manager of Parks and Nature. So just quick overview of Greater Clark Park District, which is a metropolitan park district created per state statute by voters. This was a vote of the people to create an area that supports all urban and unincorporated parks in the system, including parks constructed prior to the voter-approved levy. There are 50 neighborhood community parks and 16 urban open spaces totaling over 1,000 acres within GCPD or Greater Clark Park District. And then on the next slide, it gives you a geographic understanding of where those parks are located within GCPD. And these include parks from small neighborhood parks to mid-sized community parks, all the way up to large regionals. Excuse me. So the next slide talks a little bit about where we're at and where we've been in terms of the Greater Clark Park District levy. It was approved in 2005 with a maximum rate of 27 cents per thousand of assessed value. Currently, the levy rate is 13 cents per thousand of assessed value. And the district, the Metropolitan Park District, known as GCPD, annual funding through this mechanism is approximately 4.7 million on an annual basis. The purpose and function and why voters approved this is to provide maintenance operations and capital repairs within the park district boundaries. On the next slide, we talk a little bit about what those functions look like and how these dollars are utilized on a day-to-day basis. As you might imagine, parks are used heavily and loved by county residents and GCPD residents. And so these funds allow us to plant trees, clean up trash, clean restrooms, mow, provide security, playground inspections, so on and so forth. On the next slide, we provide you with a breakdown, a simple table of the fund forecast impacts of a levy increase that's before you today. And so the first row is if there was no levy increase, what would the 2031 projected available ending fund balance be? It would be 161,000. If the action today was to increase at 1% levy increase, the ending fund balance would be 454,000 approximately. And with a 1% plus the bank capacity, which is the third option, it would leave in 2031. That balance would be 955,000 approximately. So those are the three options. And this, given the structural deficit, projected structural deficit of GCPD, this is a really key part of our balanced recovery plan. So on the next slide, we'll walk through the actions before you. And so the requested actions are: one, to select a levy adjustment resolution that's before you. We have three options. One is 0% increase, keep the current rate. Two is a 1% increase. That would amount, a 1% increase would amount to 67 cents per year of increased payments from taxpayers. And this is based upon a medium home value of $550,000. And then the third option is 1% plus the banked capacity that's that you could choose to take. That third option would result in $1.82 annually per household. And those are the three options in terms of the levy adjustment resolutions before you. The second option or action, is to approve the annual budget for GCPD. And so both of those two decisions are before you today. And we would welcome any questions or comments or anything we can clarify.
Councilor Little.
Yes, I had a question about how we got in the situation of in 2005, it was 27 cents per thousand, and currently it's 13 cents. And then also there's a resolution in our packets that includes a 2.72% increase. And I'm just curious what that's about.
Thank you. Yes. So the voters approved a maximum of 27 cents per thousand. And so when that 1% is not taken, which is an option of GCPD each year, the rate or the rate changes and produces the same amount of revenue. And so over the years, if that 1% is not taken, the rate decreases to produce the same amount of revenue. And that's essentially what's produced, the 13 cents versus the 27 cents that was authorized by voters. And so your second question was in regards to why there's a 2%, 2-point-something% rate. And that represents the banked capacity plus the 1% total. And so the banked capacity is the capacity that you are permitted to take under state statute that has not been taken in past years. And so you can add that to the 1% that's allowable under state statute.
Okay, thank you. Very helpful.
Offhand, do you know how many years that 1% was not taken?
I don't know off the top of my head. It was not taken in 2025. Jenny may have a better idea.
When we were looking into the numbers to present at the work session in September, there have been years it hasn't been taken, but the district board has been consistent about taking the banked capacity. So we are actually where we need to be. And I would point out that our inflation tends to grow more than 1%. So this is part of the structural deficit. And taking the 1% in bank capacity from a staff perspective is part of our key balanced recovery solution, which was what we presented in September. So you have been consistently taking it, even though some years you've chosen not to.
The bank capacity, though, becomes less than taking the 1% every year.
Yes, it does. That is correct.
Okay. Other questions from council? All right, then let's hear from the public. Anyone signed up? And this would be on comments on just what was presented. The levy resolution and the budget resolution.
Yes, Chair. Carmen De Leon.
Carmen De Leon Mello. And I'm just going to say that I did see some of the earlier this year meetings, and they talked about Frenchman's Bar. And I'm worried about the money being spent at Frenchman's Bar because this is budget, right? And they said that the swings were too close. And I've been there. And you know what gets used? The volleyball nets, which is a pole and a net. How much cheaper can you get? And then the swings are the same quality as the swings at public schools. So I don't know what kind of a friend of yours needs a job, but we don't need to remodel Frenchman's Bar. The swings are fine. The playground's fine. The equipment is not deteriorated. It's still useful. I hope you don't spend money on destroying the park. Because when I look at the park over there by Marshall Center, my kids don't even want to go there anymore because the modern, so-called modern play structures seem to be made to make our kids weaker. I saw them just making the kids dizzy. When I was a kid, we climbed monkey bars. That was upper body strength. We would sweat. We would play. We would get tired. We wouldn't just sit there and get dizzy. So if you're going to invest in parks, maybe do something to benefit the health of the people who show up. You know, because wasting it wasting it and remodeling Frenchman's Bar is a total waste of time to me for the money. And money would be better spent, like I said, getting rid of the algae because people cannot swim and enjoy these parks because they're being shut down. You can't even take your dog for a walk along the beach. I mean, the wannabe beach, because your dog, might get, I read the story of that lady. Maybe she was in here talking about her dog died just from being in the water. Okay, so I would say that is a priority because people do want to take their dogs to go play at the park. But it's really frustrating when they can't go over there because they might die. and it's frustrating when these kids are not going to the park to get tired. They're just going to get dizzy. So why'd you go there in the first place if you can't go swim? What good is a park? So I hope and it was the word stewards of money. You're the stewards of the county's money. They are the stewards of the park. So I hope that it's well spent, and I don't want to see more parks ruined by modernizing them with these new weirdo type slides and stuff that are good for nothing. We used to have like 10 slides at the Red Park. Now there's 2. And we used to have like 10 swings, and now there's like 4. And that's not right, because you're accommodating the one disabled child and putting 99% of able-bodied children, subjecting them to boredom because it wasn't made for them. So in being inclusive, you're excluding the majority. Maybe consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there
Chair,
anyone
we
else?
have 2 callers online.
Okay.
Caller, you've been sent a request to unmute. Please go ahead and do so. State your name for the record and go ahead with your comment related to this hearing only. Caller, go ahead with your comment.
Hello.
Hello,
Can
we
you hear
can
me?
hear you.
Hey, my name's Bruce Barnes for the record. The thing I want to comment about parks is there's a lot cheaper way to do this. We've got a work program with the incarcerated in our county prison system, and it doesn't take, a brain surgeon to run a leaf blower, a lawnmower, or a weed eater. And I'm all for family wage jobs as well, but we've got to do something to lower the cost of the county, and this is a perfect way to do it. And it's going to do 2 things. It's going to lower our jail costs because it's going to take the incarcerated out of jail because they can work their time off and get them out of our jail system, which costs us like $136 a day to have them in there. And it's going to lower the cost of doing maintenance on the park system, which is going to be able to fix their budget. How many people do we got incarcerated in the jail right now? Over 500. That's a huge workforce that we can utilize to lower the cost of the county. The county's $14 million in debt right now. So we need to figure out ways to lower the costs of operations instead of figure out ways to go, hey, we need to hire another employee, or we need to buy another lawnmower, we need to buy another weed eater, or we need to have more people going around cleaning garbage cans and washing toilets. This is a perfect example of, hey, nobody rides for free, and if you're going to be in jail, you're going to work your way out of it. And I think that this is the perfect solution to a lot of problems in the community right now for maintenance type stuff. I mean, sure, maintenance takes some people with some knowledge and some skills and some this and that, but lawn mowing, I mean, any trained monkey could do it. I mean, it's easy. So that would be my suggestion to this county, is to look at ways to save money rather than spend money. And the other thing is, you don't have to pay many benefits. They don't have to have any health insurance. They don't have to have any retirement. They don't have to have any of that. Or you can employ college kids in the summer that are out of college that need work and that want to work for the county. And this is their entry-level job to get into this situation and work their way into an engineering field or an assessor's job or a planner. And this is the way you get into it, because it shows you that these people really want that job. You know what I mean? And then you've got reliable employees, which are very hard to find nowadays. So anyways, that's all I've got to add to this. I appreciate your time, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Caller, you've been sent a request to unmute. Please go ahead and do so and state your name for the record.
Kimberly Goheen, Elbin. Those are good points that both of those citizens had made. The incarcerated used to actually do park services and stuff. It's a great idea to cut down costs, because we are your boss. We're the people. It's our hard-earned tax dollars that you're using, and we want you to use them in a more effective way, and you're not. That was my point, that 75% of the general fund's expenses are for personal related salaries and benefits. And like Bruce mentioned, that it doesn't take 4 million, 7.5 million, $7.4 million to do this. So you guys are paying yourselves, lining your pocket with our hard-earned tax dollars. We want it to stop. We gave you some good reasons to not pass this, but to have them come back to you with the incarcerated implemented into the ways to save our hard-earned tax dollars. They're more than welcome to and happy to get out actually and do that service to helping the park situation to clean them up and do all that. That can be done. But again, I find it very troublesome that most of the, and as you look at the pie chart, most of the fundings of our hard-earned tax dollars is going to salaries and benefits. So do not pass this, have them come back and bring a better presentation as to how to tighten the belt on spending, because that's what's been going on. We need an audit of all this, of where it's all gone. We should never have run out of any public services monies at all, except for you are hiring, you get these boards, you get special committees, this and that, and they're all making money off of that. And it's got to stop. It's time to stop. Again, the disabilities, the seniors, and armed service veterans should have no fees at all. We earned our right to have public services. We've paid our taxes. It's time to pay us back instead of somebody there lining their pockets. It's just wrong. When you have the love of money, it is the root of all evil. And that's what we're about to do, since we are a nation under God. And those of us that serve God are out to hold you accountable. And so unfortunately, most people, of course, during the day cannot call in and comment and stuff. But for those of us that speak, we're speaking for hundreds of taxpayers that do not want you guys to make more money and therefore is a bigger government. And that's what this is all about. For God's sake, it doesn't take 4.7 million.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else?
That concludes public comment.
Okay. So our decision point here, well, let me just ask the staff, or are there any follow-up comments that you would like to make?
Thank you. The park system is funded at 22% of the national median for park systems of similar size, serving similar population sizes, or measured by acreage as well, managed. The park system funding challenges are pretty clear. We've presented those in the past, and this potential set of actions before you are a key part of the recovery plan to continue to operate parks and natural areas throughout the county.
Thank you. Comments from council or further questions? Go ahead.
Sure. Just related to Bruce's comment, I was just wondering if there were any partnerships with the jail or any potential partnerships within parks or public works in general.
There's been a partnership in place with folks in the jail. We utilize offender crews, as we call them internally, thousands of hours a year throughout the park system, not only within GCPD, but outside GCPD. They're an absolutely essential part of how we accomplish our work, given our very low staff levels per acre.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Chair, just one more comment too. I think, when we talked about the millage rate, I think it's important to note that I think really the largest driver of the millage rate going from 27 cents to 13 cents is the fact that the fund can only increase 1% year over year, but appraised values are increasing higher than that. So the millage rate has to drop down in order to make sure that the fund only increases by 1% year over year. I would just say that 1% doesn't come anywhere close to covering the needs to maintain the existing service levels that we have today. It's our due diligence to do our best to ensure that the funding level stays stable enough to provide a level of service that all of our citizens demand. So at this point, I would move that we adopt the 1% plus the banked capacity.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further comments or thoughts? Okay, hearing none. This will be 1% plus the bank capacity. And I guess we just have one levy resolution number. So it would be levy resolution 2025-12-02. That's the motion. Is there? Well, there's an 02 and an 03. I was right. Okay. Make a note of that. Okay, so moved and was there a second? There was a second. Okay, moved and second. No further comments. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. All right, motion carries. Councillor Belcock, we weren't quite sure if you said yay or nay.
Aye.
Okay, thanks then. And then there is Budget Resolution 2025-12-03, which is the Greater Clark Parks District Board budget for 2026.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Ayes all around. So motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our business for the Greater Clark Parks District Board. And without objection, I'll adjourn this meeting. Okay, now we're reconvening as the County Council. And I think at this time, we're going to open a public hearing for the 2026 annual budget. And I think we'll probably have maybe not a lengthy, but a thorough presentation by Emily.
Good morning, Council. And good morning to, I know all my colleagues are there or online this morning for this budget presentation. So if we can just go ahead and move forward on the slides.
Thank you.
So I just want to make sure you all can hear me okay?
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go over today the annual budget process, a summary of challenges that we're continuing to face, our general fund, the recommendations before council, property tax levies, council deliberation and amendments, and there will be sample motions later on the slide. So we'll have those in order for council's consideration and then hopefully adoption, or if needed, we do have time tomorrow morning to continue our discussion on the budget. One more slide, please. So state law, which is RCW 3640, establishes the general requirements of the annual budget process. The county's annual budget serves as the foundation for policy, financial planning, and control. We use a traditional budgeting approach, which focuses on transparency, communication, and collaboration. All new funding requests are approved through separate change requests or decision packages. And then the adopted budget is monitored at different levels, whether it's at the fund level or department level. There's a lot of stakeholders who participate during the annual budget process. We have our advisory boards and commissions that council appoints. This includes like Mental Health Sales Tax Advisory, Public Safety Sales Tax Advisory Board, and others. The budget office manages and leads the process. All of our departments and elected offices share requests that they need to sustain, expand, or change services. And I will just say they are truly the experts in the work that they do and the needs that they have. They are the ones that are intimately involved with their day-to-day operations. The finance team includes the deputy treasurer, the finance director, the budget director, HR director. They all review not only the budget, but all of our financial, complex financial information that we review throughout the year that comes before council. The county manager does review and recommends the budget to council, and then the council adopts the budget, which sets the county's policy. So a little expanded information on the timeline. This is a very lengthy process. It's almost a year-round process. We do have an annual budget. Just as a kind reminder, the council did meet in May during council time and provided the following direction for the annual budget process. And this was only a change for general fund. So general fund new requests must be mandated or have specific revenues such as a grant. And then we had a parallel process that had other general fund needs, also known as the critical needs submission. Those were not considered in the annual budget process, but we did have a work session for departments and offices to share their needs with council because we didn't want to lose that communication. And then staff started working on a request as early as February, March of this year, others in the summer. All the submissions were published online on October 6th. The county manager, myself, and budget office met with all of the departments and offices focusing on just the new requests, just due to the number of requests that came in. The recommendations were published on November 4th, and we have a work session on November 12th, and then today is our public hearing. And I will say also during, as things were getting published and moving forward, information on both the new requests as well as critical needs submissions were sent to counselors on a couple of dates starting in September. And I also just want to note as a kind reminder that policy decisions are really made throughout the entire year. This includes all of your discussions that council has on our Tuesday meetings with hearings, any agenda items that are approved, direction from council during council time or work sessions. Those are all policy decisions that help frame and develop this annual budget. So some key information or key highlights for the recommended budget. I will say, Clark County's economy does remain strong, supported by steady population growth, stable employment, and increasing in retail activity. We want to acknowledge the dedication of all of our departments and offices. They demonstrate exceptional commitment and creativity in managing resources, trying to maintain essential services and supporting our growing community. The recommended budget maintains core services through fiscal discipline, cost-saving measures, and an additional $7.4 million in general fund revenue. While not ideal, we have been able to provide progress on fiscal stability by limiting new positions and programs and increasing revenues. Demand for services, inflation, aging infrastructure, and unfunded mandates continue to support the ongoing structural imbalance. We will continue to focus on long-term sustainability and addressing many of the immediate priorities, relying on the one-time resources that are available. This is a new slide. I believe this question came from Chair Marshall, is looking at the budget in its totality. We do spend a lot of time on some of our major funds, including our general fund and road fund, but this is the entirety of the county budget. So as you can see in the middle line, the expense budget, the total for all funds is $882 million, which is about $642 million in operating and $241 million from capital. So for 2026, the total net reduction to fund balance that's being recommended is $148 million. And again, while the county's overall financial condition is solid, some funding sources, as you know, such as general fund, are experiencing a structural deficit. Some key recommendations for council's consideration is preservation of our general fund and other major funds reserve policy. I think we have about 12 that have been adopted, and I know the budget office and key stakeholders are moving forward with others as well. The property tax levy options It is being recommended to take the 1% and bank capacity for general fund, road fund conservation features, and then you just adopted that for parks. More details on the impact to homeowners and the revenue generated will be shared later in this presentation. We are increasing the sales tax revenue by 2% on the forecast. Normally and historically, it's been about 4.2%. As we discussed in our work session, some of the sales tax revenue from new home construction is not coming in as realized for this year. So we want to take that approach of being, trying to get in line with what we anticipate will come in 2026. And then the expense requests include a REIT, one for about $2.5 million, mental health sales tax $5 million, and road fund just over $3 million. The next couple slides are similar slides that you had seen, and not only in this work session, but also the supplemental budget, the fall supplemental. Just want to recognize again the great work that our staff have done in recognizing $7.4 million in new ongoing general fund revenues, one-time recommendations using one-time fund balance. There is limited recommendations for new ongoing positions and programs. The recommended budget is balanced and maintains core service levels and reflects both our continued fiscal discipline and our collective progress in generating new revenues. So again, I know the difficulty that all of our departments and offices have just to maintain our core services. And so being able to see the creativity and getting cost recovery and new revenue streams is much appreciated. Again, this is the same slide that you've seen in the last hearing as well. Just stating again that revenues are not keeping pace with the cost of essential services. The primary revenue remains stable, but is a little slower, hence the 2% projection for 2026 in our sales tax. We'll continue to be proactive with financial management. There's still volatility with federal and state funding, and this is the important reason why we have reserve policy so that we can continue operations during those times. And our continued service demand growth and population increasing. We're growing. Everybody loves Clark County, but it's expensive. I understand that as well. And the residents do deserve services provided by the county. And I think this is the last slide that is the same from that you've already seen. So again, maintaining service level. And I just want to share a shared commitment of upholding the county's fiscal integrity while preserving high quality services our residents expect and deserve. And I know the finance team and all of our departments and offices are committed to collaborating and coming up with ways that we can either generate additional revenue, be more efficient, and really just, maximize what we can and do the best that we can with the resources that we have. So heading into the recommendations. So we had a total of 267 requests that came through, 253 are being recommended. And I'll just briefly touch on the different categories. Budget neutral are those that have a revenue and expense like a grant, so there's no financial impact to the fund. Carry forward are items that have already been approved by council, but the project may not be completed, so the unspent dollar amount is being carried forward to the next year. Technical adjustments include items just like coding errors and stuff that we find. Previously approved, council has already during a Tuesday meeting or a public hearing. New requests are the new items coming before council. Budget interventions, those are when we do reductions. We did not have any intentional budget interventions. We did use this for the critical needs submissions just as a category to separate them out, but we did not require or request budget reductions this year. And then there's 14 that are not being recommended.
Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Kathleen, really
quick question. Going back a couple of slides under the 2026 key recommendations, you mentioned that one of the bullet points states that increased sales tax revenue forecast by 2%. But I think I heard you say that in the past, or historically, it's been roughly about 4%.
4.2%.
4.2%. Can you remind us really quick, or remind me, what's causing the drop in forecasted sales tax revenue?
New home construction.
Okay,
is
there's
down.
a less new home construction as
Yes.
a result. Okay, thank you.
Yes. So yeah, sales are down, sales tax.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Of course. Okay, general fund forecast. And I heard a constituent say this earlier, and it's correct. About 75% of our county's general fund is personnel, and that is salary and benefits. 70% of our general fund supports law and justice, which includes the sheriff, the jail, prosecutor, the clerk's office, public defense, and there might be another one I'm missing, but we'll show some more information on that in the upcoming slide. Expenses continue to grow. We have wage increases, medical contributions are going up, retirements, and other factors that are increasing the expenses. General fund is still, again, seeing the structural deficit, which simply means that ongoing expenditures are exceeding ongoing revenues. And the next slide is it's the forecast. So this is baseline. This does not include any recommendations. We just want to share in the red column on the far right is those forecasts that we use. And this is based on historical averages. And that's where you can see on the top line, is that the 2.5? Am I on the right? No, we're on the expenses. My apologies. But sales tax has been changed rather than the 4.2% due to, again, to the current projections. It's only changed for 1 year though. So we kept it at 4.2% from 2027 on. It's only for 2026. Just a couple items on here for like charges of goods and services. That's where the like jail bed revenues go, recording fees, court fines. Other revenues include infractions, payment in lieu of taxes, and others. So that's simply just showing baseline and then what the forecast is. And again, the forecast does take into consideration historical data and also pulls out anomalies such as COVID or other unforeseen one-time events. So this is the baseline budget, the expenses, and here is the large, kind of looks orange, is the salaries and benefits. It's at 73%. We also have services, which are contracts, that's at 16%, or the blue. Supplies and other funds is the 5.4, or the green, and then transfer outs is about 6%, and that's the subsidies that we transfer to other departments to cover their operations. So this is just general fund baseline operating expenses, and it's by department. The total baseline for the general fund, and it's only general fund, is about 22 million. The law and justice is in the blue. There's a total of about 62.5 or 67.5% of law and justice. It's closer to 70% because this does not include the indirects for like budget and HR support. I just want to take this opportunity again. I know I did this in the work session, but thanking council over the last 3 years for supporting law and justice. There's been a significant increase in operating budget. I believe was over almost 73 million, capitals 43 million, and that includes body cameras, compensation, staffing, the courthouse space planning and remodel, and others. I also want to note on here that we also have other mandated services that are paid out of the general fund, like our treasurer's office, our assessor, and our auditor. So while I think the county's done great work in partnering with law and justice, I think, we want to make sure that everybody knows that there's services out there that are mandated that we need to continue to do as well. And then the next slide is just the same information shared in a different graph so you can see the blue lines are law and justice and the rest are non-law and justice departments that receive general fund. Then the next slide, this is the general fund baseline operating revenues. Property taxes is about 41%. It's the reddish orange color. Sales tax is the blue, about 66 million. It's about 32%. And then the rest, about third, is the other revenues that come in. We have split them up a little bit over the years based on council prior discussions, but includes like excise and other taxes, licenses and permits, interlocal agreements, charges for goods and services. Again, that's like jail bed revenues, recording fees, fines, interest, or earnings. So it's all our other revenues. We have hundreds of funds that we manage here at the county. And before, I'm going to do a quick summary again of the request. But before I do that, I just wanted to pause to see if council has any questions up to this point.
Thank you. Are there any questions at this time?
Chair, I have some questions.
Yes, please go ahead.
Kathleen, I know in the state of the county, it was talked about reductions, because I'm seeing a bunch of increase, but I'm not seeing anything about any type of cutting back or reductions. What would that look like, and if there are some or were some?
Well, we didn't move forward with any reductions this year, and partly that is due to the increased revenue that we received this year, that our auditor's office worked with district court and the jail to recover some funding from the city for 6211 billing for like misdemeanor courts or jail bed days. And there's other revenues as well that have come in that was shared during the supplemental for like licensing is another $1 million. So we have about $7.4 million more revenue coming in from existing contracts.
Okay, so the potential cuts would be next year if there are some.
Yes, potentially. And we'll see the 6-year forecast. What is being recommended is balanced for 2026.
Gotcha. Okay. And then the slide with all the circles, and it talks about the new FTEs. What are those related to mandated? Because I know there was a couple of different divisions within the county that had mandated, created new positions. The one to the lower left, 176 new FTEs.
That's not necessarily new FTEs. Those are new requests.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
And I'll say general fund is very, very limited. There may be some new FTEs like in clean water that council had seen before, or other funds, but those are new requests. So it could include a capital request. It could include, and I'll go over actually some of those here in just all the new requests.
Okay. And then my last question, because I asked this last year and I don't think we ever got to it because we had extensive budget meetings last year, as you know. What has been the impact of the Baker Tilly study with the salary increases? Obviously not every single FTE was increased, but I know there's a substantial. How did that impact our bottom line for our budget for the county?
I would say it impacted the financial side in that we don't have as much savings at the end of the year because we don't have as many vacancies as well.
Okay.
A lot of the year-end savings that we see is, it's unspent funding that comes to drops the fund balance. And a lot of those were due to vacancies. And also, we have projected increases for salary increases, but I would say it's reduced the unspent dollar amounts throughout the year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I'm just going to pause and ask Emily if she has anything she wants to add to that.
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. I know she'll chime in if I misspeak. Does any other counselor have any questions right now?
Counselor Belcott, your hand's still up. Did you have another question?
I don't. Lowering that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to briefly, before I go into the forecast here, I just want to briefly go over some of the recommendations that fall under the new category. And it's going to be similar to what I shared in the work session, but just for public transparency, I will do it again. It is not all inclusive. It's trying to capture some of the main ones that are of importance. So the recommendation for new revenues includes the 1% for and bank capacity, again, for general fund, road fund, and conservation futures. Updated revenues collecting from the vehicle licensing, jail bed revenues, district court revenues, and the general fund interest earnings. The treasurer's office also submitted some revenues to increase property tax penalty and interest revenues, delinquent property tax revenues, and increase general fund treasury admin fee revenues. Just some of our fees and expenses that we're updating, the indirect cost allocation, that is where our essential services costs are charged to other funds for providing services to those departments. Calculated charges for technology, server and storage, security contract, general liability claims and legal fees, and risk insurance increase is based on state of Washington and our laws. It's not a good place to have insurance here for risk. It's also due to other claims that the county has seen or may see. Workers' compensation revenue adjustment, CRESA fees for 2026, increased sales tax due to legislative changes, which causes additional expense to us that we now have to pay sales tax on certain services, such as IT services, website development, investigation and security services, and temp staffing, and others. It's almost about $500,000 per year, with more than $350,000 hitting the general fund. And then postage increasing, and then licensing costs for some of our subscriptions for like Microsoft and others. For capital, we have fairground projects. The council did get a work session on the master plan update regarding their parking lots, admin, buildings, security camera system, and others. Replace and updating the failing HVAC control system, both at the courthouse and the PSC. Space planning continuation on the first floor. This is for clean water. The courthouse remodel, the 5th floor for public defense. The transportation improvement program, which council has already seen, and their stormwater capital plan, parks, and then the equipment, some of the equipment for like roadside mowers and chippers and fleet. Other general requests or general recommendations are one time. And these I am recommending one time so we can continue to assess as part of the ongoing law and justice needs. And this is like Motorola radios for the jail, bio cleanup, additional expense authority, public defender training, Superior Court. They have a couple funding, operational funding increases, on-base licensing costs, Zoom cost. Public defense, we are in the process per council's direction of moving from a contract model to having them come in-house. There is a request for 3 attorneys and then administrative positions. I am recommending yes right now, but I also am doing an internal contingency as public defense is working with our budget office and human resources to really map out that transition for both FTE and costing and number of contracts, as well as long-term with the caseload standards, which I know you heard a little bit more yesterday from our prosecutor. So the recommendation is to move forward with it, but I would like to hold off on providing that funding and the FTE until that model is complete. There are a couple staff safety related issues. So some personal protective equipment for fire investigators and animal control, and ergonomic upgrades for the jail in their housing control towers. And then funding for mandatory training for the sheriff's office. This is the academy that the new deputies go through. And then there are a couple of FTEs that, like I said, mostly non-general fund, like stormwater, that was part of the clean water fees that were adopted by council. And there's a handful of positions that you had heard about last year. Mental health sales tax, there were, I think, 5 areas. Community services have a landing pad jail reentry program, and it helps bridge services after folks are released from the jail. District Court for case managers, probation and pretrial services, truing up some funding for the jail positions, MOUD, jail transition, and then therapeutic courts modification for Superior Court. And as mentioned, I did have a couple that are not being recommended. One was the regional funding market research for parks and land, and per the Director of Public Works, this can wait until 2027. The assessor also requested to increase professional services budget to finance street level imagery. This is not being recommended as it was approved in the fall supplemental. The assessor's office converting the project position to permanent. I'm recommending that it currently goes through 2026, but I think we're recommending the 2-year on that. The prosecuting attorney conversion of project positions to regular. These have been funded through ARPA, and ARPA is still available to pay all of 2026 and partially 2027. So it is not recommended to assign those to general fund at this time. Animal control and code enforcement, they have a clothing allowance, animal cruelty, neglect investigations, and per the department, they have the funds in their department to cover this. And then creation of a department repair fund for the jail. We work with facilities for requests and stuff. So we'll monitor that this year and see how that continues to work. And then also a jail services backup kitchen laundry delivery truck. Rental fees are set up for 2026, and Fleet, I think I mentioned last time, is doing a comprehensive review on like a motor pool program and looking at renting versus acquisition as well. Obviously not all of our fleet could do that, like our sheriff deputies or others, but there might be some that, especially in general fund, that use the vehicles such a limited time per year that they could be shared with other departments rather than replacing them with low mileage. Any questions on that? And if not, I'll move forward on the slide that's up before you.
Any questions? No questions.
Okay, and I just want to emphasize that's not all inclusive. As you saw, there was over 250 requests, and it didn't include the submissions that came in on the critical needs separate. Okay. I gotta blow my screen up a little bit so I can see a little bit better. Okay, so I'm gonna go through this one like I did last time. Just go over this one. I'm not gonna do it for all of the funds, but just for understanding on how the forecast looks with the recommendations. So I'm gonna focus on the 2026, which is outlined in black. And you can see the beginning fund balance is 77.4 million. Operating revenue is 205, and then the total operating expense is 222 million, with a capital budget of 13.5. The annual budget impacts based on the recommendations is in the blue. It's a total of about 618,000. And that includes the operating budget impact of 1.6 million, and the capital budget impact 2.2 million, which is highlighted in the blue. So again, the total impact for this year is 617 million. Projecting ending fund balance of 46.4, which is in the gray line right in the middle. And I'll just note that that is the same number that gets carried forward for the beginning fund balance for 2027 at the top. There are certain fund assignments that need to be made. Compensated absences is about 4.5 million. This is a calculation. One of the major calculation is if we have employees who leave, there are cash out benefits in our policy for like sick leave and vacation. I will also note that this is an increase, which I'll talk about a little bit more, but increase than we have had in years past. Inventory and prepaid expenses that used to be called non-encumbered invoices or encumbrances. So that's 2.4 million, and basically those are invoices that we know are coming that haven't been paid yet. So we have to put some money aside to get us through the entire year and put that aside. Our minimum fund balance per policy is 34.5 million, which in accordance with this recommendation, it leaves a one-time projected fund balance for a one-time funding of $5 million. We did include below the red, just the projected structural deficit. So again, it just pulls down the operating revenue expenses that was noted above, the new ongoing revenue of 8.4 million. We just wanted to call that out there. And then that's where you can see the 1%, general fund 1% of 800,000, and the bank capacity, which is about 670,000. And then the new projecting ongoing expenses is about 7 million, which leaves the operating deficit at 14 million, which is again the expenses and the revenues, the difference between those two. Any questions on this before I go to the next one?
Chair. Yeah, I was just noting that noticing that it's slightly different. The numbers are slightly different in our book. So there's some changes made recently to this, I'm assuming.
I don't believe there were any changes to this one. Are you on the first page?
Yes, I'm on page 23, it looks like. And the numbers are slightly different.
I believe this is the same slide that was shared in the work session, so I'm not sure what was supplied in your books.
Okay.
I don't think we have the including 1% and banked capacity. We
yeah,
have the
there's-
1% and no banked capacity.
That's
Okay.
probably
There should be 3 slides for this one. It's actually there's 4, I think. It's the including bank or 1% and bank capacity. Well, this one says no bank capacity on the top. Can you go back one slide, please? Okay, so this is the 1% and bank capacity one. And I do want to call out just a couple reminders. 2% on the sales tax is for 2026. However, the projections from 2027 moving on is it's still at 4.2%. The future years also, the forecast does not include the 1%. The 1% is only included in the 2026 number. And again, that compensated absences, the 4.5 million, there was an accounting regulation change that happened. It used to be 2.8 million. So that's a loss of 1.7 million in revenue. And that is moving forward. And this also does not include any new requests in future years. And you can see in 2027, the projecting unassigned fund balance for budget request is negative 10.4 million. So what that basically is saying is that we're not in alignment with our fund balance policy. And then and that again does not include any new requests. And then if you move forward to 2029, you can see that that's where there is a fund deficit of 4.5 million. So counselors, just to confirm, do you have more than one in your binders?
I don't think we have this slide, and maybe we could get it.
Yeah, I know. I'll just ask Jake is watching. If he can go and print all of these, that would be great.
That'd be great.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next one. We can certainly come back to this. So the second slide, this includes the 1%, but does not include the bank capacity. So it reduces the amount available by about 670,000. So the one-time projecting available fund balance for one-time request, which is right above the red line and the gray, is now 4.4 million instead of 5. And then the structural deficit was 14 million, and now it's 14.7 million. And then the next slide. This one does not include the 1% or bank capacity. So it does reduce a total of 1.47 million. Again, that's 800 for the 1% and 670,000 for the bank capacity. The 5 million now has been reduced down to 3.55 million available for one time. And then the structural deficit, which I can't see on my screen, but it's the very bottom line. It was 14 million and now it's 15.5 million. There you go. And then I think we have one more slide on general fund. Okay, so this does include, now this is the 1% includes the recommendations, the 1% property tax, bank capacity, and it also includes the critical needs general fund impact that council has heard from departments and offices that was on the parallel path. And as you can see, it would put us in a fund deficit in 2027 of 3.4 million. And I just want to emphasize, even though financially we cannot, I am not comfortable recommending something that puts us in a fund deficit in 2027. It does not mean these needs are not important and not needed. There has been very limited growth in general fund, especially in general fund, and it's very limited growth. And the need is there. And so I just wanted to, I don't want to devalue what departments and offices put together and shared with you, because that is a reality for them. Any questions on the general fund? I'm not hearing anything. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Maybe it's later on in the slides, but I believe that there were some adjustments, and maybe it's in the form of an amendment from you, Kathleen, that adjusted some things that were mandated and left out. Is that later on in the slides?
It is, and we'll show an updated forecast that includes those financial impacts of the amendments.
Great, thanks.
Of course. Okay, if we can move forward, public safety sales tax. So just as a reminder, this was approved in 2022. There are no new recommendations today. They have maxed out on the funding. The sales tax was adjusted here as well to be 2% for 2026 and then 4.2% for future years. There is some financial impact of about 489,000, I believe, from the fall supplemental that included body camera updates, carry forward for some funding, and then wage adjustments. We are still reviewing on potentially revising the minimum fund balance policy, and if that's the case, that will come back to council next year. We want to help ensure that this fund is balanced over 6 years. We do see some savings that will fall back to fund balance. Just for example, like if a position that has been approved for public safety sales tax hasn't been filled yet or is filled partially, or the remaining funding will go back down to the fund balance. But there is no new request for 2026. And moving forward to the Mental Health Advisory Board. So just as a reminder, mental health sales tax must be connected to behavioral health. Eligible programs include intervention, treatment, aftercare, outreach, support services, and prevention. Council authorized the creation of the advisory board in 2018 to create a formal process for collecting and evaluating new funding requests and make recommendations for the budget process. The advisory board includes community services, a member from law and justice, county counselors, public health. I do want to thank them, as with all of our advisory boards. There is a lot of work that goes into these boards, and it's good work, but I know it takes time, and it's a very thoughtful process. So I just wanted to share my appreciation for the Mental Health Sales Tax Advisory Board and others. Again, they're recommending $5 million for internal county departments utilizing the criteria that's established in law, as well as county council priorities. And I think the next slide shows the forecast that you can see the baseline adjustments of just over 400,000. And then the recommendations of 5 million, and those are outlined there in red. And I had mentioned those with the new request. Like I said, they support jail reentry programs, case managers for probation and pretrial services in district court, some jail items, and then therapeutic court support for Superior Court. Okay, planning and code. So this is where we're seeing the impacts of new home construction as well. So there is a net decrease in fund balance of $74 million. The budget office, and I'm sure the finance team also will partner with community development to address the structural deficit. As you can see there on the very bottom line is the projected difference between ongoing revenue and expenses. Again, this is due to lower new home construction permits and sales. They are keeping a few positions vacant right now because this is not tied to fees. It's tied to workload coming in and permits. So we are holding a few positions vacant right now. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 74,000, not 74 million. My apologies. They monitor weekly and year-over-year changes for the different functions in community development so that you can see how are the permits this week versus this time last year, or this year, point in time this year versus point in time last year. We will keep council informed because any changes like this can be a sign of a change in our economy, and we want to make sure that we're prepared to respond if needed.
Sure.
Any questions on this one?
Yes, I do have a question. I am curious now, looking at this, that means in coming years, we're essentially going to need to supplement using the general fund. Is that accurate?
Or
if
we're going
things
to
continue.
reduce FTE because again,
Okay.
it's not tied to fees. It's like number of permits coming in. So
Okay.
if there's like not enough for an inspector to go out and inspect new homes, that position would be eliminated.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that answers the question, and thank you.
Of course. Okay. The next one is REIT. Okay, so REIT 1 is the less restrictive. This one, even though REIT 2 was modified, so there's less restrictions now. The net decrease in this is 2.4 million. And in 2027, you can see the let me show them on the right one, 3.5 million, and it increases. So under the forecast in 2027, and that is due to bond issuance expiring. And so there's money coming back into that fund after the bonds get paid off. REIT 2, so a couple of slides. Again, this was recently updated, so it's not as restrictive. It is being recommended with the request before you of 305,000 net decrease to fund balance. And again, on this one, Public Works is partnering with our budget office on a capital master plan that may need adjustments moving forward because we want to make sure that they are balanced and being programmatic as they move forward. But I will say a lot of times projects, they fluctuate based on weather, based on materials coming in. So there is going to be some natural fluctuation in this, but we're going to just make sure that we're as accurate as we can be moving forward. And just a couple of the items that you can see on there that are being recommended is the support for Vancouver Lake and the well tank replacement program. The TIP is in here, the stormwater capital plan, the courthouse remodel, it was included, the Parks Lane capital improvement program, which council has seen most of those in a public hearing already and made those decisions. Okay, so for road fund, this again is similar to the general fund. We gave you the 3 scenarios on how they look. So what is being recommended is a net, this includes the 1% and bank capacity, and the request amount to a net decrease in fund balance of about $3 million in 2026.
Chair, quick question on this one too. The fuel tax that we receive, what is the reason behind it staying 7 million each year? Is it just I don't know what caused it to be the same each year in our budget forecast?
Ken's coming up to answer that question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councilor Young. Right now, the state is still evaluating alternative revenue sources for replacement for the motor vehicle fuel tax. So we haven't gotten a good indication of what that will be. It has been a bit lower than that, but not significantly so. So we're kind of in a holding pattern until we can determine what's going to happen.
And just out of curiosity, is the revenue from that in a state of actual decline, or is it just not increasing enough to keep up with inflation and such?
As far as I know, it's a bit hard to tell if it's actually in a state of decline. We believe it is because of electric vehicle use, but because of COVID, we don't really have those current numbers to tell. And I can get you more information on that later.
Okay, so the reason it's the same each year is because there's uncertainty.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and then if you go on to the next slide, this is the same forecast, includes the 1%, but does not include bank capacity. So it reduces that property tax revenue from 48.7 million to 48.25 million. That's highlighted there in the red. And then the third one does not include both the bank capacity nor the 1%, which reduces the property tax revenue from 48.7 million to 47.7 million. Okay, we can go on. So these were added based on council's questions during the work session on conservation futures. I think there were some questions on what this would cover. So Emily and Public Works and the Public Works team did the forecast here to include the 1% and bank capacity levy option. So I'll go through these really quick, just as they are in the others. And then if there's more specific questions on what this would be planned for, I know Ken is prepared to share additional information. So again, this one, the net impact, I believe was just over 19,000. This includes the 1% and the bank capacity. The second slide has no bank capacity. So the property tax decreases from 3.4 million to 2.99 million. I think one more slide. It's a little slow on my end. And then if you do one more slide, that will be the where it does not include the 1% or bank capacity. So it reduces that revenue from 3.4 million down to 2.96 million. And I would turn over to council to see if you have any questions specifically about what the plans are or the uses on this. And I know Public Works is ready to respond.
Okay, I'll ask that question. What are the planned uses?
If council is willing, I would like to take about 5 minutes just to go through the road fund as well as conservation futures, or we can just answer questions directly. So.
And I just wanted to mention, we invited Ken because there's a specific request from, I think, the work session to see specifically how like the 1% and the bank capacity impacted these funds. That's what this is about.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
All right. Thank you, council. Good morning. Is it still morning? Yeah. Good morning, Chair Marshall, councilors. For the record, I'm Ken Lader, Public Works Director. I do appreciate the opportunity to discuss the importance of the levy recommendations for both the Clark County Road and Conservation Futures funds. Beginning with the Clark County Road Fund, our 6-year forecast shows that we are trending towards this. And if you want to maybe kind of flip back to the road fund slides, it does show that we're trending towards a structural deficit and that our anticipated operational expenses are increasing faster than the offsetting revenues on which we rely. Statewide, counties' share of the motor vehicle fuel tax has not grown. In fact, the total amount distributed to all Washington counties in 2025 was almost 10 million less than it was in 2007. And today, each dollar covers far less than it used to. While the state approved a 6-cent per gallon fuel tax increase to address the overall transportation funding gap, counties will see only 2.5% of that increase, and it will be available only through a competitive grant program. Regarding the road levy, the modest annual increases that we see from new construction can be a bit misleading because that increase usually reflects an expansion of the transportation assets that we must maintain. The amount available for capital is projected to decrease over the course of our current forecast. As we shared with Council during the 2026-31 TIP work sessions and hearing, our team works hard to leverage road fund dollars by using them as matching funds for regional, state, and federal grants. Without action on the 1% levy, we project that by 2031, we will not be able to deliver the adopted TIP without spending into the reserves. If road fund capital is unavailable, we lose the ability to provide matching dollars, which blocks access to external funding for additional projects. And because the TIP shifts salaries from operating to capital, reducing the TIP and what we program would likely accelerate the trend towards a structural deficit. In summary, we're facing rising costs, stagnant revenues, and shrinking capital capacity that threaten our ability to maintain roads and deliver the adopted TIP. Council action on the 1% levy and bank capacity will strengthen the road fund, unlock more grant dollars, and continue to allow investment in our vital transportation system. Moving to conservation futures and our legacy land program, the last time the 1% was taken for conservation futures was for the 2010 collection year. That's why you see that high bank capacity percentage. Simply put, the 1% increase plus bank capacity will help legacy lands with acquisition, funding, and for maintenance and operations of Clark County's cherished conservation areas. In the final 3 years of our 6-year capital plan, acquisition funding drops to $2.25 million annually. This reduction limits our ability to support major conservation projects throughout our community. Demand is rising from farm and conservation projects across the, demand is rising from farm and forest preservation to the county's ongoing need to fill gaps in open space, to providing periodic funding for cities and land trusts, yet available dollars are shrinking. At the same time, rising property values make it increasingly difficult for the county to compete for land. Maintenance and operations for legacy lands are capped at 25% of the previous year's levy. Where recent major acquisitions have added pressure to the maintenance budget, raising the levy increases the available funding to care for these properties. Increased maintenance funding also plays into the broader regional parks funding discussion because of the services provided by parks maintenance for legacy lands. In short, the 1% increase and bank capacity are essential tools to sustain the legacy lands program, ensuring that we can continue acquiring critical conservation properties, keep pace with rising land values, and provide the maintenance funding needed to care for recent and future acquisitions. And I do appreciate you letting me take a few minutes during your very busy day today.
You bet. It's important. We have a question?
Chair, yeah. On the 25% limit on carryover, does that limit the bank capacity proposal in front of us? Anyway,
I don't believe so. And I do have my finance folks standing by, but I don't think there would be a limitation that's connected to the 25%. Except that, available dollars are available dollars, right? So.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could give some context behind 10 years of not taking the 1%. Is that, I think if I remember correctly, last year, it was actually staff recommendation not to take it. So what has been recommendation from staff to not take versus council decision?
Yeah, I don't actually know the background going back very far. I can tell you that last year we were just splitting parks and our lands management apart. And we felt that we didn't really have a fair grasp on things to request the 1% increase or bank capacity. I do feel like we're in much better position now with staff and our understanding. But historically, I don't have the answer to that. Just I can see in the record that it goes back
Great.
obviously quite a ways.
Thank you. I would say honestly that answer gives me a bit more faith in that you're not asking for it unless it's very clear that it's needed. So I appreciate that.
Other questions? Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, quick question. I was curious about the fuel tax. I know that's a challenge, right? As we see an increase in the number of electric vehicles and electric scooters, and so that kind of and they don't pay taxes, right? I mean, electric cars don't pay fuel tax. So I guess my question to you is, I know that this number for now is set because we don't know how the state is going to identify how to generate more revenue. Do we know how many households out of the roughly 200,000 households in Clark County own an electric vehicle? And are we tracking that? Are we seeing year after year what that increase looks like?
As far as I know, the answer is no. I don't know the answer to that. But staff may have a different answer. I'm just not familiar with us tracking it myself. And it's something that it's a great question and something that we should probably be looking at to see if we can develop a trend looking forward. So
yeah, I suspect the DMV might probably be able to answer that. They're not on phone, are they, by any chance?
Probably
No?
not.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It is riveting, but
I would just add to that, I drive almost exclusively electric nowadays, and I appreciate being able to drive so cheaply, but it really is not equitable. All users of the road do need to pay for that, and currently I'm not. So it is an issue. I don't know how they tackle that, but it is definitely a real issue that needs to be addressed.
We'll take a check.
All
Well, I
right.
think the legislature was, and I thought they passed it, but they were looking at when you renew your car tags every year that you're going to be paying more if you have an electric vehicle.
We actually already do pay more, but we don't pay the fuel tax though.
Yeah.
We pay because it's a heavier vehicle, and then we pay for some of the charging infrastructure and such. But yeah, it needs to be sorted out for sure.
We're making a contribution for climate change, so there you go. You're welcome. Any other questions? Thanks, Ken.
Okay, so I have a couple amendments. I know we talked about some of these during the work session. I just want to remind you that the amendments were not included in any of the items that were published on November 4th, nor were they included in the financial forecast that you have seen so far. So this is, I'll go over these briefly. Slide will have the financial impact. But the BGT, I just want to call out the 1926 AD. Those, it's the second line on there. Those were the 2026 General Fund Critical Needs Project positions. Those are 2-year extensions. I know I mentioned that during the work session, but wanted to make sure that council knew that that was included here. Another one, the district court, I did add on here, I think 4 of theirs that were in that critical needs portion, but in reality, when I went back to review them, they're actually mandated. So I want to make sure, that they, that it was reviewed so that we get it down the right path so that they have the financial support to continue with some of their operations. Same thing with community development. They had a couple maintenance agreement contractual increases that are mandated that was submitted through the other process. So we just pulled them over here to make amendments. And the other ones we talked about before. I do want to make 2 amendments to add to this as well. One of them is the position that our prosecuting attorney talked about that is coming to an end this year. And I would like to recommend that be included and amended into the BGT 19 and have that continued as a project position for 2 years. It would cost about $131,000, I believe, for the 2 years or per year. Emily, is it per year?
Yeah, it's per year.
Yeah, per year. So that is an additional amendment that I would like council to consider in addition to these. And then the last one is the county auditor came up and saw me yesterday, and I do want to share my appreciation for his creativity with his team. But they had included in their proposal, it's called AUD CAP 0526 AD, and it's the Workday Strategic Sourcing. And this would help with procurement, contract management, accounts payable, vendor portal software. He has looked within his own budget, so there's amendments on how this would be funded, which would reduce some of the costs for the general fund. There's a transfer from his O&M fund that he can use for $231,000 for the one-time cost, and then ongoing cost. Half of it would be recovered through the countywide indirect cost allocation plan. And then there was a couple of packages that were previously approved by council for contracting software and electronic bidding software that are no longer needed, so we can reallocate that funding. It's the same service, but it's actually consolidating into Workday. And also reducing a transfer from general fund to DCS for $27,000. The increase for general fund would be a one-time $60,000 if needed. There may be funds available, but it hasn't been solidified. So it'd be $60,000 one-time funding, and then about $36,000 ongoing for general fund. And I will say the contracting, that has been a topic for the last 5 years. There was an audit done internally. We're getting up to doing best practices. And I think at the time, Workday didn't have the capability. But having Workday be, the same as our financial models, our payroll, or everything, you don't have to have additional IT costs to bridge two different systems, and they have that model now, which is what this amendment would support. So with those two amendments and these before you, those are my amendments, proposals to council, and we'll get to council amendments here shortly. If you could go to the next slide, please. So this is the financial impact for the general fund based on these amendments. So it's about $983,000 for 2026 and $800,000 for 2027. So you would add the one-time $60,000 if needed. You'd add the $131,000 for each year for 2026 and 2027, and then the ongoing $36,000. That would be in addition to what you're seeing on there. So the one-time fund balance for one-time requests, that gray line right above the red line, is $4 million here. That would be reduced, so it would be 3.8 million or so. That's available for one-time requests, because as you can see, we're not meeting our policy again in 2027.
Kathleen, I have a question here.
Yes.
And maybe this is somewhere else or needs its own amendment. I'm not sure, but the treasurer had a request. They had some internal savings for, I think it was a software update or some system that they're working toward. And if she was able to use some of the savings she identified to keep that project going. So I don't think it has, well, I don't know what the impact ongoing, but it would be one time. And perhaps Councillor Young has the answer.
Yes, this is a treasurer's request. Yeah, I have a proposed amendment that would address what she had brought forward.
Okay,
So,
just
but- Yeah.
well, we'll
yeah.
deal with that when that comes up. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any questions on the amendments before we go into the property tax overview and recommendations? And I will also ask, does council need a break? I know it's noon, and I want to be mindful in case anybody needs to take a break.
Yes, I was going to pause us at noon to see how people were feeling. So I don't know if what is needed is a 5-minute break or a 30-minute break and have a bite to eat.
I'd prefer making it short, try to crank this out.
So do I.
But that's just me.
Oh, people are interested, cranking it out is still going to take a bit of time.
Right.
Crank as hard as we can.
Maybe a 10-minute break, I think, to start and see where we are in an hour or so.
Okay, 10 minutes. So
I do have a question still.
I have as well.
let's ask some questions.
Okay, so the two additional recommendations from the county manager are to include Tony Golick's request, as well as the auditor's request, including the 60,000 one-time request and 36,000 ongoing. And just does that make irrelevant or not necessary Councilor Young's potential amendment for the same? Was that for the same thing?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So what I had sent around earlier for the software issue, that this takes care of it.
Okay. And we will, after break, have the opportunity to either pass all of the recommended amendments in one package or individually if we want.
We'll get to that slide, but yes, there is opportunity. You will have to consider all of it. And I also just wanted to note that our auditor, I know they have supported the two new positions, one for HR and one for his office for payroll. And I know Greg is there and can, speak now or during the testimony, but he was supportive of looking at those in conjunction with the law and justice, the criminal justice sales tax. And so that this was a higher priority than those two positions at this time. And I would personally agree that this is a high priority on the contracting model. So.
Okay, other questions?
Yeah, just the last question. Just wanted to clarify. So the prosecuting attorney's position is the one that had been funded by grants, and then the grants were lost and they scrounged and found some funding. So this is renewing that under project position for 2 years.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we will take a 10-minute break. And yet to do is complete the presentation, hear public comments, and then our deliberations and actions on the budget. And then there will be the whole remaining agenda that we have to get through. All right, so we'll be back at 12, 10, 12. Every minute counts. Thanks. Okay, we're back from our break, refreshed and ready to dive back into the budget.
Okay, and forward to the next slide. And the next one. So property taxes are one of the primary sources of revenues for the county. The county assessor assesses the property and the treasurer's office collects the property taxes. And there's three main components, which is the levy amount, assessed value, and the levy rate. And then you can see with the formula there at the bottom. Next slide, please. So the tax levies are for the general fund, including the subordinate levies, which are mental health, developmental disabilities, and the Veterans Assistance Fund, road fund, conservation features, and the Greater Clark Parks District, which you considered in your hearing earlier today. Again, the property tax is stable and it grows with new construction, but if we see construction slow down, that can impact that revenue coming in. This is the summary of the financial impact, both for revenue that is generated as well as the amount that a property owner would have to pay. I will say it's based on the median household price of $550,000. So I'll start on the left side there where it has revenue impact, and I'll just go over the general fund line. So again, if the council approves the 1% general fund levy, it would bring in about $800,000 per year, and that does compound year over year. The bank capacity, if council chooses that, it's $670,000. which would bring in a total additional revenue for 2026 of 1.5 million. And then if you go across the top on that same line, the impact on the medium household, again, which is based on the medium household price of $550,000. The 1% for general fund would cost $3.79 per year. And for the bank capacity, it's $3.17. So the total impact just for general fund for the 1% and bank capacity is approximately $6.96 per year based on that medium household. The total impact per home for all of the recommended 1% would equal about $20.89 per year, with 1% being about $9.86 a year and bank capacity as $11.03. The total revenue that would be generated if all of the general fund, road fund, conservation, futures, and the parks 1% would be approximately $3 million, including the bank capacity, with the 1% being about 1.4 million and the bank capacity being about 1.6 million. And again, the 1% does compound year over year. The next slide just shows the subordinate levies. Historically, the council has adopted the proportional rate. If you choose this rate or choose the flat rate, the difference is paid out of general funds. And again, there are 3 subordinate levies there: the mental health, developmental disabilities, and the Veterans Assistance Fund. Each one has an individual decision. So council could choose proportional rate for mental health, flat rate for developmental disabilities, and vice versa. So they are 3 independent decisions. I included this slide last year, and Emily has updated it. So over the past 14 years, the county council has not taken the 1% 7 times out of the 14. This resulted in a $42.6 million loss in the general fund from 2012 to 2025. So that's up from the 37.5 million that we had talked about last year. And last year, council did not adopt the 1%. The estimated impact for years moving forward, if those would have been taken, would have been an additional 34.3 million. And the anticipated amount per year to a homeowner would have been about $18 to $27 per year. In the future, if the council were to pass the 1% in future years from 2026 to 2031, it would have an estimated impact of an additional 18.1 million. Oops, sorry if I hit my mic. Okay, I don't see the colors on this one. Okay, this, I will just say this is my information from my property tax. I live in the unincorporated area. And I just wanted to share on the top left corner, that is information that was shared last year. So that was the tax year from 2023 to 2024. And basically, that year, the council did take a 1% increase and bank capacity. But as you can see, the levy rate actually dropped from 7.8 million down to, or 7.8 to 7.14. And that also had an increase in assessed value. So that was from 2023 to 2024. If you go to the center top, that is this year's information. So from 2024 to 2025, the assessed value decreased by about 2.5%. The rate, council did not the general fund or the road fund 1% last year, but the levy rate still increased. And then, sorry, I had highlights on these, so I don't see them. The comparison of the tax history is just showing it line by line. So you can see the Clark County in the bottom center. You can see where it had changed the taxes and the levy rates from year over year and the difference. And then I always like to show the far right, which is the tax and assessment distribution. Again, this is on your tax statements. The majority of the taxes do not come to the county. I know a lot of residents, I believe, think that they do because they're sent from the county. But as you can see in the top 3 items, is over 2,000, it's like 20, almost $3,000 going to schools. And then you have fire districts and you have, others on there and stuff. So I just wanted to share, it's the county's portion is actually pretty minimal for the work that we perform. If you go on to the next slide. So this one was just the same slide that was used last year, just showing the same information, but for a resident that's within the city of Vancouver. This one, I'm not sure, we didn't get updated for this presentation. So this again was tied to from 2023 to 2024, where council did take the 1%. But again, if you look at the tax assessment and distribution, the majority of that is going to the schools and the city. And then they have their own road fund there at the city as well. But this particular property, the assessed value at that time increased while the county levy rates actually decreased. It included 1% general fund property tax levy from 2023 to 2024. Next slide, please. This is just sharing again where budget reports are on our website. If you go under the budget department and click on the 2026 budget, you can see different reports such as revenues by fund, expenditure by fund, the change request narratives, and the summary by fund report. There's a lot of, they're mandatory reports that we have to post, but they're also really good information for our community to see. So that is, I would say that we still have slides on amendments and recommendations and decisions, but I would recommend, and Chris can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would recommend the public testimony. I would recommend at this time, if council has amendments, even just to present them and say what the amendment is, and then not make any decision on that so that the community can hear, so that they can provide public testimony, including your amendments. And then, of course, after public testimony, if council so desires, there could be additional amendments. So I would recommend at this point, if council has any amendments, to share them. And you can go forward one slide.
Okay, councilors. Oh, Chris, did you have an opinion?
That sounds right to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Good.
you.
Councilor Little.
Yes, Chair. I'd like to propose 2 amendments. And there is a slide, I think, for each one of these. I'd like to do my second one first, the way I presented them. That would be, if possible, that would be a request for.
Councilor Little, could you provide the change request number, like is it AOD or CLK?
The CLK. Okay. The first one would be CLK-02-26AD. New position request. Court Assistant 3 for 12th Judge. The cost would be 84,000 or 83,000 roughly. And as we heard yesterday, there have been 3 requests. There have been 2 requests for 3 positions that they need to perform mandated duties, and those requests have been since 2019, and only 1 has been approved. And actually, there are 4 positions requested since 2019. Only 1 has been approved, so they still need 3 positions, and they are only requesting this year a modest 1 FTE increase. So that would be my first amendment.
Counselor, could I add to that real quickly?
Yes.
I think it's important to note that these positions were related to the additions of the district court judges that the council approved. And that's additional burden and workload that's added on the department, and those positions weren't filled for that support.
Hey, thank you.
Before going on to another proposed amendment, that one should be seconded so that it's before the.
I think at this point, we're just providing information to the public. The public will provide testimony, and then we'll do the motions in seconds.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. So just a brief explanation of the amendment so the public has an opportunity to comment. Other amendment?
Yep, one more. That would be recommended AUD-06-26 AD Auditor Grants Coordinator position. As I am proposing, it would be a 2-year project position versus a full-time FTE. This would be extra capacity, new capacity for many of the departments to be able to find and write and hopefully successfully secure new funds for us through different grant sources. And I have been a grant writer myself and executive director, and I understand the importance of this type of position to raise funds, and it has to be, you have more success if you have a professional in that position. So I believe this will actually bring in more revenue than it costs. And the reason why we're trying it as a 2-year position, project position, is I believe that we should review how it goes over 2 years and decide if we want to make it permanent after that. The salary or the cost would be about $137,000, which seems like a good rate to get a quality individual in this position, even though it is a project position over 2 years. So that would be my proposal.
Chair.
Okay.
Chair, I'd like to add that I do support this amendment, and I believe that eventually it could potentially pay for itself in most cases. As somebody who's also written grants and works for a nonprofit, there generally tends to be administrative costs that can go towards the salary of the individual. So definitely support this.
Okay, we're just wanting to explain so the public can comment, and then we can talk about support and editorialize all we like. Yes. Do you want to do this during public comment, or you're clarifying something? Yes, please.
Thank you. I always rely on my friends to help me out. Just some additional information regarding the cost of this grants position. As we've looked at that, feel very confident that even without any additional new grants coming in, we can pay for the entire cost of that position through the indirect cost recovery plan, as well as beginning a practice of billing the funds that have their grants audited by the state auditor's office, so that those two actions alone will pay for the cost of the grants coordinator. Just for your information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other amendments to share?
Chair.
Yes, please go ahead.
As mentioned prior, I have an amendment for changes that were brought forward to a request by the treasurer. And so the changes are that essentially they
Councilor
are.
Young, could you give us the change request
Yep,
number? So I can-
sorry, it's TRAS CAP 0126 AD. And essentially it would allow them to move forward on, planning for their upgrades to their portal over time, but it would not allow, or would not take any general fund. The request was originally for some general funds. This would be from savings in their department repurposing of other capital funds.
And I'll just apologize. This came after, it came like yesterday, so we didn't get a chance to post it. But if you guys can hang on just a second, I can send it to staff and they can bring it up, or I can bring it up afterwards when you guys want to
Okay,
make it.
and Councilor Young, would you just repeat the number?
Yeah, TRS CAP 0126 AD.
Okay, thank you. And I believe with this one, there was some cost savings that the treasurer has identified to cover the cost of this. Other amendments? I have a small amendment I'd like to share, and that's BCC-03-26 AD, and that's a modest request from the Clark County Arts Commission for their festival and event. one time a year. It brings people to our plaza. It's for $4,458.
Thank you for bringing that forward. I thought that was in the recommended budget already.
I don't believe so.
No, it was part of the general fund critical needs request, so it's not
Oh,
part of the
thank you for
recommendations.
catching that one. I missed that one.
Okay, are there other amendments that we want the public to be aware of? Okay. So with that, we'll open it up to the public to provide us with their comments. And this would be on our annual budget, and it would include potential levy resolutions and the annual budget and any of the amendments that had been suggested. Is anybody in the room?
There isn't anybody signed up in the room, but we do have 2 callers online.
Okay, great.
Oh. Okay, go ahead and come to the mic. And, and state your name for the record. I didn't see you on the sheet.
Oh, just press the button.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Richard Marr, AKA Buck Marr, known retired, 32-year retired vet, vice chair of the Clark Veterans Advisory Board, and on the board of the Clark Veterans Assistance Center. In addition to other veteran activities, I'd like to make a comment just in general, if I can, regarding the veteran, not specifically towards the budget, but in general, how the county is dealing with the Veteran Assistance Fund. In the past 6 months, counselors, I have seen a real measurable progress in upgrading the quality and increasing the quantity of assistance to the county's veteran population, which, oh, by the way, is somewhere around 35,000 now. I would get hats off and a big salute. That's why I came today to the county manager and the budget director who have, with their staffs, helped move that ball down the field. A huge start. There's a little bit of a story here. A huge start to that was an upgrade to the previous Clark County Veteran Assistance Center facility, which was woeful. Around the turn of last year, Ms. Otto, along with other local leaders, asked 3 senior retired veterans to see what we could do about finding a facility. We'd been unable to do that previously. It was Colonel Larry Smith. Many of you know Larry Smith, and Mike Burton, and myself. So I went down the street and I asked my neighbor, Albert Angelo, anybody familiar with the Angelo companies? I said, you know, you're the largest holder of leased property on the West Coast. You haven't got one itsy bitty little property you could give for veterans. Well, in short, I secured a verbal agreement from him rather quickly. We briefed Ms. Otto on February 20th, securing her approval to move ahead with Harney Street. Well, the long story made short is that Albert Angelo signed the lease and made one big ask of the county: improve and expand veteran services for the veterans that live here. We're on our way. We have blown past the budget for 2025. And we are likely to meet the budget in 2026. So we would like to say thanks to the county, the counselors, but in particular, Ms. Otto and her staff for making a dream come true for a lot of veterans in this county. Thank you.
Great. And thank you for your support of the veterans. That's appreciated. I know some of us have visited the new center, so a lot of square footage there. It's good. Anyone
Was there
else?
somebody else in the room that would like to provide public comment directly related to the budget hearing? Okay, then we do have 2 callers online. Caller, you've been sent a request to unmute. Please go ahead and do so. State your name for the record and go ahead with your comment.
Kimberly Goheen Elbin here again. So adding these amendments should allow us an extra 3 minutes, but I'm sure you won't agree to that, right? You don't want to hear from the public. So
It says
using
I've
a
lowered my hand.
comparison
How do you
of,
raise my? Start
excuse
three.
me. Okay, start my minutes over. I've been interrupted. Using a comparison of other county parks and stating we are well under those counties' fundings does not give you the right or reason to raise our taxes for funding. We were doing just fine without having to be compared to other counties. Also, so you'll pass these budgets and we, the people, will hold all entities involved accountable and as to how you're spending our hard-earned tax dollars. And we will make sure to watch if during these next few years that the transportation improvement program, the stormwater capital plan, the parks and recreations, the list goes on, your computers you're buying and all this, do not come back to ask for more funding. They are to stay on budget and they will get no more extra funding. We know it just goes to employees. The law and justice and judicial system here in Clark County is not only broken, but are actively violating the rights of indigent citizens who are not guilty, such as my son, Cleve Goheen Rengo, but suffer irreparable harm. Our constitutional rights are an ongoing violation. It's ongoing. You took an oath. You are aware of this. Something needs to be done. Using the excuse of public defenders having too large workloads, but that does not help those, such as my son, for the irreparable harm being done, which is is criminal and illegal. On record last week I guess it was yesterday, was a presentation, and it was stated that the Public Defense Department must hire 3 times the what we have for public defenders. So again, have you budgeted this? And all entities must stay within their costly budgets of using hard-earned tax dollars. But is this in the budget? Those extra attorneys for public defense. That's very important, especially to me and my son. Also, are there funds for mental health and homelessness, such as using the old Memorial Hospital as a mental health facility, whether you transfer jail people in there or the homeless? We need to get that the old Memorial Hospital up and running for mental health. Why haven't you done that? Well, because you really don't want to help the people. You want to make bigger government, and that's what you're doing.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Caller, you've been sent a request to unmute. Please go ahead and do so. State your name for the record and go ahead with your comment related to the annual budget.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, this is Bruce Barnes for the record, county resident. I've got some things to talk about the budget. Number one, I listened to your county meeting yesterday with the sheriff's department. Yes, I agree that there should be suppressors on AR-15s at the Camp Bonneville shooting range to limit the noise for residents. But I don't want suppressors on AR-15s in every police vehicle. And the reason is, if there's a shootout, I want to know where the noise is coming from so I can flee that area. If there's a police altercation with criminals, suppressed weapons are so quiet you would never know, and you could walk into gunfire, number one. Number two, they also wanted noise canceling ear headphones, right? You can get those at Sportsman's Warehouse for anywhere from $50 to $70. Now, I'm an electrician and I've got to supply my own equipment, right? There's no reason that the police department can't supply these on their own. It's very cheap, and most police officers shoot on their own. They've got these noise canceling headphones that you can get at Sportsman's Warehouse. So I would advise that we don't support those except for at Camp Bonneville, where they can be shared amongst officers, and you just clean the ear part with alcohol, and they're perfectly fine for everybody to share. The other part is, I had a question. Are we 14 million or $25 million in the hole? And to me, I think they should be cutting upper management, not the workers that are in the field actually doing the work, but the management that's sitting in the office spaces collecting a paycheck. You know, when I ran electrical work, we cut up upper management all the time before we cut workers, because the workers were the producers. They were the ones actually doing the work, not the upper management, and we reduced that way. I would take a good long look at your overhead with that. And the other thing is, you know, when we're talking about new equipment, I look at your county public works department, and it's like the biggest construction company in the state of Washington, and especially Clark County. I mean, my God, the amount of equipment you guys have. Why do we need to keep buying more? Why can't we hire a mechanic that can sharpen things and fix, you know, motors? A small motor mechanic should fix these, you know, things that chop up the trees, or stump grinders, or whatever the case may be, or work on chainsaws. Why do we continue to have to buy brand new equipment and brand new trucks? I've got a 2013 F-150 Ford that's got almost 300,000 miles on it, and it still runs fine. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Your time is up.
We do have one more caller.
One more caller.
Two more. Caller, you've been sent a request to unmute. Please go ahead and do so. State your name for the record and go ahead with your comment related to the annual budget.
Yeah, my name is Robbie Anderson. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, perfect. So I just want to thank, I'm sure that all this work, it looks pretty extensive, and I'm sure is an immense amount of time for many staff, many folks. And I do appreciate that. I do want to just give you some feedback that just has, you know, and I feel like I'm pretty tied in and keep an eye on this stuff. I mean, I'm not a novice or amateur when it comes to this kind of stuff, and it's still not clear. It's many costs. The budgeting process is very difficult for the average citizen to get their arms around and see where money is going. And so I would highly recommend, in particular, the Charter Commission, and that you cooperate, or, you know, assist the charter commissioners, elected, I should say, as they look at and hopefully will prioritize more transparency in the budget process, because it's very difficult. For example, there's one example, it's Baker Tilly compensation. You know, I still can't get an answer from the budget office regarding the impact of the raises for the Baker Tilly compensation and the impact that that's had on what you call the structural deficit. You know, I was really disappointed just a little bit ago when I heard the county manager say that the lack of raising property taxes was a, quote, loss to the county fund versus saving for taxpayers. These small amounts add up, and I get it. The county manager has no accountability to taxpayers directly, and it shows with a statement like that. And who I'm really concerned about, and I really hope you're concerned with, and I haven't heard it yet. Maybe, you know, I haven't heard all of the deliberation, but I have not heard many of you talk about the people on fixed incomes, the people in low incomes, the people, you know, the young workers that are just starting out. As you increase property taxes, the affordability continues to become out of reach for young people. Fixed incomes are being pushed out of their homes little by little. And it's interesting because the school boards and bonds and levies and those that promote that, they say the same thing. They say, hey, it's just a few dollars. It's just a small amount, which is the same rationale that I've heard today. And all of them make it. So how does it stop? It stops when you...
Thank you. Your time's up.
Caller, you've been sent a request to unmute. please go ahead and do so. State your name for the record and go ahead with your comment. Caller, we've just sent you another request to unmute.
Hello,
Please-
can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh,
we can.
Okay, this is Carmen De Leon, and I did want to talk about the budget because there is a big misuse of funds going on, and I believe it's in the county of Clark. The city of Vancouver wants to spend 800 million on new chambers that they don't need, and they gave themselves raises going back retroactively.
Okay, Carmen,
6
this is the
months.
county budget,
So,
not the city of
well,
Vancouver's budget.
well, isn't that part of your budget? Because you just said,
It
okay, you
is
want to talk
not.
about county? Okay, the Clark County Fairgrounds. I believe I heard it this year that there is either 800 million or 80 million from interest accrued, because as you've named all of these accounts, they hold, they get interest. So how many millions in interest are going unaccounted for? And also you talked about wages in the county. So I say, maybe like the guide said, like kids, you guys can live off minimum wage too. Every county employee, give them minimum wage. And the fact is, you guys have part-time jobs with full-time benefits. And that really stretches you pretty thin, having a part-time job and a real job 40 hours a week. So I think you should dedicate yourselves to one or the other. Because why are you doing a part-time job getting full-time benefits? You know, I mean, and that is in Clark County, I believe. And also I see that they are trying to make more homeowners. And as has been stated, you see the difference between a homeowner and somebody who rents an apartment isn't very big, because you just have to keep paying rent at the apartment. And even though you think you own a house, if you don't pay that tax, aka rent, you lose it. And little by little, you guys keep raising it, nickel and diming it here and there. And like the guy said also, those of us on fixed income, we don't get raises like that all the time. So you're pretty much taxing people into the street. And as you know, these old people, old folks, retired citizens, they've been taxed right into homelessness, because as you know, the #1 rate of homeless people is seniors. So you need to think about the repercussions of your actions, because it's making old people homeless higher than any other demographic. So God bless you. And I guess I'm out of time, but I'll talk to you at the public forum.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, that concludes public comment.
Okay, so we've concluded the public comment, and now we're going to turn to our deliberations. And let me just say how I think this is going to roll out. Go ahead.
And I just have one comment about the comments.
Sure.
I just think the suppressor issue is something that we should probably have a little bit more dialogue about, because as the council may not know, you can put a suppressor on a firearm, but it's kind of a one-way path. Once you screw it, you can screw it on and off, but once you screw it, put it on, it changes your zero. And so you have to train with the suppressor on, and then you have to use it with the suppressor, or else you'd have to re-zero in at a range. So just, it's not easy to take on and off. It's kind of a one, it's either you go one way or the other. And there is questions on whether the community can hear that if a gunshot has happened. So that's something that's worth a little bit more discussion.
Thank you. And is that something that's included in this annual budget, or is that something that will be considered with the Law and Justice Special Fund next year? Next year?
Yeah, I believe it's part of the general fund critical needs discussions for next year.
Next year. Okay. Thanks for bringing that up. We'll stick a pin in that and talk about it in January. Okay. So it looks like this is laid out so that we will be voting on the 3 levies. And then we will turn to the amendments. Somebody can correct me if I don't
Yeah.
have this correct.
Staff, if you could pull back up the presentation. Because it will help, I think, outline the motion order. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And so we'll do the amendments and then we'll go to the full budget. Is that the order?
Yes, I believe it's the county manager amendments first, and then council amendments, and then the next slide will have the different options for the levy and bank capacity, and those are on the next slide. So
Will we do
and
that?
then the full
We'll do that following the amendment?
Yes, you'll do amendments first.
Okay.
So this one would be county manager amendments, and I would include the two also that I had added to these two.
Okay, those, that will be included in those, in that motion. Okay. Thank you, Councilor Fuentes. Okay, so let's start with the county manager's amendment, including those two additional items that she discussed. Is there, oh, go ahead.
There's a question.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm not clear on whether the county manager is presenting these as a package, so you can only vote for or against the whole bunch of them, or whether you vote on them one at a time, which would be more standard.
I think there's only two, right? I think we can vote on them one at a time.
No, there's a whole list. There's
there's
that
a
whole list. I would lean
Okay.
towards package.
Okay. As I say, that is not standard.
I think we've done though.
I don't know what you've done historically, county manager, but in general, when there is an amendment to a proposal, the amendment is voted on separately. Go ahead with this if no one has an objection, but it seems odd.
Okay, we may be a little bit odd, but let me just ask if there's any objection to considering the county manager's amendment as a package.
No.
Any objection?
No objection. So then the two were just an additional to what was already printed. So we're considering these as well as the two that she presented to us today.
Could you, Kathleen, just summarize
Yes.
those two additional ones?
Yes, that is correct. So the two additional, the first one is AUD CAP 0526 AD. And the prosecuting attorney one is PAT-02-26 AD.
And Kathleen, if I could just clarify, the prosecuting attorney's recommendation is a 2-year project position, not a full-time FTE.
Yes, and that will be included with that BGT 1926, but it's a separate one. Yes, it is correct. 2-year project position. Thank you.
Okay, let me just ask, are the counselors clear on what we're voting on now with this county manager's amendment?
Yes.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and move to approve the county manager's amendments, which are in front of us at the moment, as well as the two additional that she presented earlier this morning.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. And I would just clarify that many of these are things that were not included in the budget, but are many of them mandated services. So that's what we're trying to include here. Any questions or comments on this before we vote? Okay, all those in favor, is there a number to this one? Well, it's all those numbers. Okay, all those in favor of the county manager's amendment, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that amendment is adopted. Okay, counselor amendments.
Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve motion CLK -02 -26 AD, new position request with the clerk for court assistant 3.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from council?
Just because,
Go ahead.
sorry, just because I kind of blundered the request before, I just wanted to clarify that this is a mandated services by the clerk's office. They actually need 3 positions to cover the 11th and 12th judge, and they are only requesting 1. They've been requesting this since 2019.
Thank you. Other comments?
Yeah, I was just going to add that this, the clerk has been coming to us year after year after year, and I've, seen the struggles that have come along with that. We, in my opinion, made a recommendation when I can remember last year or the year before, but we should have, in my opinion, we should have never given permission to add a 12th judge without accommodating the needs of the clerk's office. It's similar to the same discussion we're having with adding law enforcement off, with adding deputies. You can't do that. You have to beef the entire system behind them or it doesn't work correctly. So we didn't have we really didn't have the funds at the time to approve the judge, but this just comes along with it. It has to.
I think we didn't have a majority. Okay, any other comments related to this amendment? I would agree with the comments that have been made. I think this is overdue and a good note carrying forward that when an additional judge is added, that we also assure that the clerk is made whole. So with that, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, any other counselor requests for amendments?
Chair,
Yes.
one more. I move to approve AUD-06-26 AD, auditor grants coordinator position.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments?
Yeah, Chair, I would comment, and I will be in support of this, but I would like it to come back to us directly so that we can kind of understand exactly how, because there are lots of departments. So how is this going to work? Who's going to be able to use the services? And then I would also like to look into tracking what the impacts are of the position, both relative to, because I'm assuming that this person will probably take on some grant writing that would have already been done by the other departments. And I would assume that they also might source some additional that we may not have been aware of. And I would be interested in understanding the dynamics of what they're able to accomplish.
Yeah, I don't know if we can make assumptions on the details of how this will work out, but I think bringing it back when those details are figured out and reporting back to us is a reasonable request, as what the results would be over time. Go ahead.
And just to clarify, this is a 2-year project position, not a full-time FTE, so it will be coming back to us, and that allows us to assess its successfulness.
Okay. Any other comments on this item? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, no.
Nay.
Okay. 4 ayes, 1 no. Motion carries. Okay. Other counselor amendments?
Chair,
Yes.
I move that we amend the recommended budget to include TRS CAP 01-26 AD, which again was the treasurer's request to reallocate some of the funding savings that they had found and repurpose other funding from capital projects to be able to accomplish the work that they need to for their website portal.
Thank you. So there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. And as I understand it, there's cost savings in the treasurer's department that will pay for this and keep the project moving, as you
Yes, so
mentioned.
no impact to the general fund.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? All right. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Motion carries. And, any other counselor requests? I guess I have one, modest one for the Arts Commission, BCC 0326 AD, to fund the Arts Festival that will be held on the plaza. Last year was the first annual event. They're asking for, what are they asking for? $4,458. So that's my motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any thoughts or comments? Go ahead.
Thank you for catching it. That's it, but definitely approve.
I think the Arts Commission, they do a lot for us. They put out the displays. They're all volunteer. They're enthusiastic that we can invite people to come to our plaza. It's a good public event. So thank you. Moved and seconded. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no.
Nay.
4 ayes, 1 no. Motion carries. Are there any other amendments? Okay, hearing none. We go to the, let's see, where's my list here?
Yeah, if you go back
Motion
to the presentation and go to the next slide. There you go.
Okay, so I'm just going to pull this out of here. So the first item would be the general fund 1% levy. So we'll vote on the levy, the bank capacity, the subordinate levies, the conservation futures, and conservation futures banked capacity. So we have a number of items here. So we'll start with the general fund 1% levy. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to first make a couple comments just to put this into context, at least for myself, because it's taken me a year to learn this. And I'm sure the public's would maybe like to hear this a little bit as well. The county manager covered it very well. I'd just like to emphasize some of these points from different angles from my perspective. In 2001, and Emily, correct me if I screw up on what I'm saying. In 2001, voters approved restriction on local jurisdictions being able to tax annually more than 1% each year. So what that does, and I'm a fiscal conservative, so that would sound good to me with a bloated budget. Maybe for a couple of years, there'd be some belt tightening and it would make sense to me. It's now 2025, and it's been many years that the county's been restricted by this 1% maximum. At the same time, as the public is very well aware of, because of our affordability issues, the cost of living and inflation has increased by way more than 1%. 3%, 4%, 7, 8, and even 9% for a short period of time. That happens every year. That means our costs as a county increase, including the cost of having our staff, by that amount every year. Yet we are limited each year to 1%. On top of that, as Kathleen pointed out, we've only approved the 1% 7 out of the 14 years. By missing out on that 1% those years, we've missed out on $42 million of potential revenue for the county to provide these services and the staff. So I know the public is watching taxes from all different entities, and it's hard to understand which is which agencies and jurisdictions seem to be bloated in their budget, which are very efficient. The county is very efficient. I think if anything, we have a revenue problem. You may see in my perspective, the state legislature who has new revenue coming in from things such as a carbon tax brings in $1 billion a year, and still they can't balance the budget. I would say that's a spending problem at the state level. If you've been watching for any period of decades, the federal government has been in trillions of debt every year, even under the most conservative presidents. That is a spending problem. I just want to reiterate at least my position that the county is doing very well with what the limited amount of funding that we have approved over the years. And this is the reason why I would be approving 1% plus bank capacity across the board today.
Thank you for your motion. Is there a second?
I actually didn't motion.
Oh, well, let's get to it.
I'll let anyone motion if they'd like to on that one. That was just a speech.
All right, let's get back to business here. Is there a motion?
Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve the general fund 1% levy.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that. And then we'll take the bank capacity as potential
That's
extra motion.
that's our whole list there that we're going to be moving on.
And just quick comment too, I very well stated, that really is the situation that the county is in, that they are literally, the costs of increase of just the same level of services is becoming more and more expensive, and the revenue's not rising to the level that the expenses are.
And just to add to that, related to the needs in the community are increasing. Our population is increasing. The exercise that all of the departments went through to identify critical needs, I think, was very worthwhile for the council to see those critical needs that are apart from the recommended budget that we may be about to adopt. So I would agree that it's important for us to be able to continue to provide services. I think the expectation our community has, the pressure that the county is under, and really all local government, with expanding needs and additional mandates coming down, that we struggle to do the best we can with what we've got. So we're trying to be responsible. Okay, any other comments or thoughts before we vote on the 1%? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no?
Nay.
Okay, 4 ayes, 1 no. Motion carries. Okay, thank you. Moving on, general fund bank capacity. We're able to vote on this because we voted yes on the 1%.
Chair, I would make a motion that we do adopt the banked capacity into our budget.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Just one thing, and I would just say this, and county manager touched on this a minute ago, but the banked capacity, including the 1%, is not enough to cover the cost increase to the county just for our insurance policy and for the sales tax increases that came down from the state. Doesn't even cover those things. So it's, even with this even with this additional revenue, it's not enough to cover even those two little things in the entirety of our budget.
Thank you for that comment. Any other comments?
Chair, I'll be abstaining from this vote since I was a nay with the previous vote.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 4 and 1 abstention. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to general fund subordinate levies, mental health, development disabilities, and veterans assistance. Now, I may need a little clarification on this. Do we vote on these separate or all in one? And does the county manager's budget assume the flat rate? Or the
I will answer the first question. You can do them all at once, but it can be 3 separate individual votes if you wanted to do it differently.
And I would just say it doesn't include the flat rate. The county manager's recommendation includes the 1% plus bank
the
capacity.
1% plus bank capacity. Okay, that's the county manager's recommendation. here.
Otherwise, the proportional rate.
Okay, now I'm confused.
It's the flat rate versus the proportional rate. So
So
because
it's the proportional rate. Okay, thank you. Is there a motion where people like to take these separately or all together?
I would, again, I strongly recommend doing them separately,
Let's do these.
particularly since the bank capacity depends on having voted for the 1% on each one.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's start then with the mental health subordinate levy.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved
So,
and seconded. Do we
I-
need clarification?
Yeah, I
on
think you
the-
need clarification on the proportional rate or the flat rate. So it would be, move to approve proportional rate for mental health.
Okay, let me try this again.
Okay,
Sure. I move to approve the mental health subordinate levy proportionate rate. I believe that's
okay,
Second.
moved and seconded. Thank you. Any comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? Just double checking. Okay, motion carries. And then let's move on to the developmental disabilities. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And so your motion is to take the proportional rate for developmental disabilities, is that correct?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, there's a second, moved and seconded. Any comments? Questions? Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, no.
Nay.
Okay, 4 ayes, 1 no, motion carries. Let's move on to then veterans assistance. Is there a motion?
Chair, I'll move proportionate rate on the veterans assistance.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions?
Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
just wanted to take a moment to thank all of the veterans in our community and especially those that are engaged with us. And just wanted to point out that this will get us through this year, but we're going to have some tougher and deeper conversations to have next year upcoming on this.
Great, thank you. And I was pleased to hear the commenter who it sounds like there's been improved communication, and I expect that that will continue in the new year. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, 5 ayes, motion carries. Thank you all for that. Okay, moving on to the road fund 1% levy.
Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve the road fund 1% levy.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Okay, hearing none. I would just comment that it has been quite a long time that we haven't taken that 1% for the road fund, so it's good to take it now. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no.
Nay.
Okay, 4 ayes, 1 no. Motion carries. Okay, road fund bank capacity. Because we have taken the 1%, we are able to take the bank capacity if we choose. Is there a motion?
Chair, I'll move to take the bank capacity for the road
Thank
fund.
you. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments?
I will
All
be
those-
abstaining from this one.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair, I just would like some clarification on the reason for the abstention.
That she didn't support
but
the 1%.
increase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 4 ayes, 1 abstention, motion carries. Okay, moving on now to Conservation Futures 1% levy. Is there a motion?
I will move that, please. Just wanted to note that we learned that it was since 2010 since the 1% has been taken. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yep. I move for that.
Okay. It's been
Second.
moved and seconded. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no?
Nay.
Okay, 4 ayes, 1 no, motion carries. Okay, so Conservation Futures Bank Capacity. So again, it's we passed the 1%, so we're able to take the bank capacity. Is there a motion?
Chair, I move to approve the Conservation Futures Bank capacity.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. And Counselor Belcott, I'm assuming you'll be abstaining again?
Nay. Yep.
Great. All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. 4 ayes, 1 abstention. Motion carries. Okay.
Next
Let's
slide.
see
please.
what's on our list now.
Yeah, next slide. This would be for the total budget.
Okay. So here we are. It's resolution number 2025-12-07 to adopt the annual budget with the amendments and all those levy votes that we just took. So is there a motion?
Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve resolution number 2025-12-07, which adopts the 2026 annual operating and capital budgets with amendments.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments? I'd like to make a comment just to recognize all the hard work from the budget office, the county manager, all of the department heads, the countywide electeds. This has been a long, hard process. And I'd like to thank all of the counselors too for their due diligence in working on this budget. So any other comments? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yay. All right. Returning to our agenda. We still have a lot of agenda to go. And, oh, it's the open public comment and public comment on consent and separate business items. Is there anyone out there?
Kimberly Shattuck.
Oh, Kimberly, thanks for hanging in there.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim. It's on. My name is Kimberly Shattuck, and good afternoon. Chair and council, I have applied to the Clark County for 30 plus years. I have a master's in gerontology, a bachelor's in psychology, decades of behavioral health and social services experience, and I have been on SSDI since 2000 for a permanent physical disability. I have always checked that box for disability because the county has a 7% of their employees that need to be disabled. I have had 2 interviews in that 32 years of applying for jobs here. 2 of those jobs, I was told I did a great job in the interview, but still didn't get it. I have 20 years of mental health counseling and social services and can't get a job with the county. I have a master's degree in gerontology that specializes in older adults that you have sitting in the jail. Who's serving them? Because they're different than people under 55. I wrote a letter to the county manager July 24th, 24, asking these questions and haven't heard one word, even though I was promised by her assistant 8 minutes later that I would hear back. Never did. 17 months. I no longer get my applications sent anywhere after I submit them. After she got my letter. I've been blackballed at the county. That's against the law. It's retaliation because I pointed out facts that things aren't being done properly in the hiring process. You pre-select your employees, whether they're union or friends and family plan. And don't tell me it doesn't happen. 32 years since 1993. I have a certificate of proficiency in paralegal and can't get a job for the county working as a secretary for the ADA's office, the sheriff's department. I'm not done. I've had 32 years.
Thank you.
32 years and I
Your
need
time is
time.
up.
Great. Sat here for how many hours? 32 years and can't get a job with you.
Is there anyone
Buck
else?
Mar, I think he went earlier.
Yes, he did.
Mhm. And Bruce Moz? No. So I do believe we do have a couple online.
Okay.
Wendy Cleveland, you've been sent a request to unmute. Please go ahead and do so. Go ahead with your comment.
All right, is it coming through? You hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Okay, well, the Clark County Council seems to be, in my opinion, no longer voting in anyone's interests but their own. I'm going to give you a few examples. A few weeks ago, Phase 5 of the botched 179th Street development was flagged for environmental concerns, sensitive wetland and unstable stream bank in the area next to be developed. During public comments, I asked for the item to be pulled from the agenda for further discussion before they gave it the old rubber stamp. They did, in fact, pull it and discuss it. It was determined that it was a critical habitat, but wetland mitigation credits had been purchased, meaning someone paid to be allowed to decimate 5 acres of wetlands. The council all decided that that sounded good and unanimously voted to approve it, all of them except for Chair Marshall because she had left the meeting early. On the same agenda was the item to approve another year's contract of the cleanup crew of Camp Bonneville, another $100,000 with no progress report from the previous year. I asked for that item to be pulled and discussed, and they did. They were told by the county staff that they hadn't started the cleanup, only done a feasibility study. For the last year, what did the council have to say? Sounds good, and unanimously approved it. Another $100,000 to the same company, all of them except for Chair Marshall because she had left that meeting early. This is disgraceful. You're playing fast and loose with our tax dollars, not to sound like other crazy people, but it is true. And we have nothing to show for it other than a feasibility study. Today, we heard how to meet their budget of the Parks Department. We're going to have to raise their fees for taxpayers. But the council consistently gives out $100,000 of tax dollars with no transparency as to what is being done with it. A few weeks ago, I had a meeting scheduled with a council member, and they didn't bother to show up. No explanation, just left me waiting, just ditched me. My conjecture is that they didn't want to hear what I had to say or be asked questions about their voting on environmental subjects. This isn't responsible or professional governing. This isn't leadership. Then there's the issue of the FBI and the sheriff at Camp Bonneville. I'm going to save that till tomorrow. I'm no longer sure that we can trust the county council to do the right thing. It's time for the public to step in. It's time for more people to step up. And it's time for us to leave no doubt as to what the right thing actually is. You're welcome for my time.
Thank you.
Caller, you've been sent a request to unmute. Please go ahead and do so. State your name for the record and go ahead with your comment.
Kimberly Goheen Elbin, live citizen of Clark County, Washington, USA. I'm hoping that I'm not under the heading of another crazy person here as I serve God, family, and country, but I do have passion. And anyway, so I believe I was called to duty by God when I woke up the next day after the presidential election of 2020 and heard that criminal Biden was put into office, I believe illegally. My duty is twofold. First, I must rally the people here in Clark County, just as Wendy was mentioning, finally, to speak up against our local grassroots government's sanctuary status and unconstitutional tyrannical form of government that is now actively defying our current President Trump and his attempts to get all sanctuary counties and cities back to our established constitutional form of government and to realize we are a nation under God and we must regain our republic and law and order in these counties and cities who are forming big government. That's what's been spoken of, and you guys need to pay attention, that think that you rule over the people instead of what our Constitution says. The people rule over our government. We, the people, have suffered these past 5 years trying to keep our jobs, food on the table, and our children educated. The suffering is ongoing, yet we will continue to hold you, our local sanctuary government, accountable. Only a few counties in the United States have twisted our constitutional form of governance, and a few examples are taking the people's militia, which is our elected sheriff's office, out of the jail system. The unelected position of county manager has now taken away the ability of the people to hold them accountable. The jail system, and frankly, the whole law and justice and judicial system, is no longer accountable to answer we, the people's concerns of tyranny and corruption. Again, the Constitution must be held first to get this government public rule over the people. You need to stop ruling over the people, and that's what we're talking about right now, holding you accountable. Criminal Biden and the agenda and the rule over the people must come to an end. Another example is clearly evident as you are on record stating ways to reduce the public speaking at our county's meetings as you do the people's business. You stated that you will follow Vancouver's strategy as to how to limit the people's public's participation and comments. So that's got to stop too. We're going to take care of the separation of open public comment and the consent and separate business that you combined, taking our 3 minutes away. I'll submit that to this, that's a county manager position, become an elected
Thank
office.
you for your comments. Your time is up.
Chair, we have one more caller.
Okay.
Teresa Hardy, you've been sent a request to unmute. Please go ahead and do so. State your name. Well, never mind. Go ahead with your comment. Teresa, we've sent you another request to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. I'm going to be talking about the budget and about the CREDC contract. The CRED contract is money to be taken out of the general funds, and the contract that is up before council is a 2-year contract for 2025 and 2026. But in looking at the general fund budget, it says ongoing efforts to strengthen the county's financial position, and that is physical restraint and cost saving measures. And then looking ahead, strengthening physical sustainability, maintain prudent expenditure management, uphold physical integrity, and maintain high quality services for residents. However, under the contract, it says, quote, this agreement is made the second day of December 2025 to cover the period of 2025 through December 31st, 2026. It goes on to list what will be expected from CREDC. Since there has been no contract for 2025, these services will not allowed to be formed. Under Exhibit A, CREDC 2025-26 activity goals, performance metrics, there are 3 goals which cannot be met in December of 2025, which we would have left of the 2025 contract. Approval for a contract for 1 month is a gross misuse of our general funds. During the recent presentation by Eric Holmes, the interim director did not address specifics for 2025 accomplished by the CREDC. There are no summaries of work accomplished online or at the CREDC website for 2025, nor, most important, was the county under contract for 2025. During council discussions, several councilors recommended a 2-year contract, which would give a new incoming director time to acclimate because they've been in a lot of transition during 2025. Agreeing to a 1-month contract for 2025 and then 2026 would really only be 1 year less than that for a new director to acclimate to the job. We, the people of Clark County, should expect more of our counselors than to approve a contract for 2026 for $100,000. This is a misuse of our general funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Nope, that concludes public comment, Chair.
Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items counselors would like to pull? Oh,
Chair, I'll move approval of all 25 items in the consent agenda.
Second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. So to approve the consent agenda. Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Then we'll move on to separate business. Separate business items, community development. Victoria and Maya. Welcome. Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Council. We're here today to present
That's good. Hi, it's been a long day for all of us. Good afternoon, Council. Maya Bunch, Interim Director in Community Development. And with me today is Victoria Abram. She's a Program Coordinator in Building Safety. So before you today is an RFP, number 937. Through this RFP process, there were 2 contracts awarded. In front of you, you're only seeing one of them. So this contract is with West Coast Code Consultants. At a later work session, we'll have the second contract before you. This contract, this RFP is for providing commercial structural plan review services in community development. We're currently without an in-house structural engineer. So the total contract amount is $250,000. So $10K is budgeted for 2025. The remainder of 2025, $80K in 2026 and $80K in 2027. So the contract is set to conclude November 11th, 2028. And we're here for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Chair.
Yes.
Can you just elaborate a little bit on what exactly what the purpose is and what they do?
So right now, our building department, we don't have an in-house structural review for the commercial projects. So we need a structural engineer to review those plans that are submitted. So since we don't have one in-house, we have the RFP sent out to have the 2 proposers. Once we reach contracts with them, we would route, once we accept the building plans for review, we would route the structural plans out to the third-party company to conduct the reviews, and then they would we get them set up in our systems to be able to supply the applicant with comments, so we can get those going back and forth and get them approved prior to the issuance of the building permit.
And do we have one, like, do we have an FTE for that position that we're not able to fill, and this is kind of a fix for that, or?
I don't believe so. We can look into that. I know we have had this set up. We've been using this third-party structural engineer for several years. So this is, at least for the last 3 years, we've been outsourcing our commercial side structural engineering reviews.
Okay, and I'm just kind of curious, the reasoning behind going, with a contract versus an in-house engineer.
I do know that there was discussions about the full-time FTE position and having the third-party structural reviewer, but I do not remember the exact components of that discussion of why they decided to go with the outside engineer third party.
We will absolutely follow up with those details.
Okay, great. And I'd be curious too. I mean, is the 250,000, is that what we're going to spend, or is it like a per review amount that we're paying, or how does that work?
The fees, so for the building permits, they have a series of reviews. So we have like a first review, a second review, sometimes a third and a fourth review. The fees are set up to where it would be, I believe, 40% of the first review fee would go to the structural engineer for the review of the plan review fee. And then the second review is included within that first 40%. And if the reviews go into a third or fourth and subsequent reviews, set dollar amount is charged by an hourly basis.
Okay, and so the 250,000 is just anticipated how much that would total up to at the end of the year.
Correct.
Okay, all right, yeah, and I would be interested in those follow-ups and also, understanding what it would take to have in-house and what the cost would be on one FTE and what the workload would look like compared to one FTE. Is one FTE not enough, or is it more than enough? Those kinds of questions, but thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question. It looks like you checked yes on additional budget capacity is necessary. Is this in the budget that we just adopted?
Is Chad Dragon on? Chad, I'm not sure if you might be able to answer that for us. Oh, we have our finance manager online.
Great.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Sorry about that again. Technical issues. I thought I had it all figured out. Because of the timing of this coming down at past when we were to get in budget requests for 2026, we'll be asking for more budget in fall supplemental of 2026.
Follow up? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, while you're there, I just want to follow up. Do you have any other answers to Councilor Young's questions? It looks like we're making a decision here for a 3-year contract that could be extended maybe additional 6 years. So it's a big decision, and it sounds like we don't have complete information. I'd just like to give another chance to see if we can get some of those answers.
And if I could chime in, there are sometimes specialty positions like this that the county does contract with. It may not warrant a full-time FTE. I don't think they have that full information, but this is a common practice. And rather than bringing somebody in, you can use them just because we don't do a ton of commercial in the county. We have some, but not compared to cities. So without anything, we don't have anybody. And it sounds like we haven't had anybody in a while and have been using these resources from external.
I think Ken's coming up and may have some answers to some things.
Maybe I'll just grab this mic. Ken Lader, Public Works Director. I just wanted to say we do this in a very similar fashion with our design engineering group for capital projects on specialty engineering. So very often we don't need a geotechnical engineer except in special cases. Now we'll do a contract with them with a firm to provide that service. The $250,000 in this case would just be a not to exceed, and then we'll bill out tasks against that contract. So, but keeping a geotechnical engineer on staff when we can't regularly use them doesn't really pencil out. And I think this is probably pretty similar for development engineering review.
Great, thanks for that context. Any other questions? Just go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that, but from my understanding, this is just structural engineers. So every single permit that's submitted that has structural changes to a building would need to go through this review, right? It's not
for commercial.
for commercial, correct? Yeah. So, and then my question comes, I mean, for 250,000 a year, I don't know what the going rate of an engineer is, but it seems like we ought to be able to get at least one full FTE out of that.
Yeah,
I don't think it's 250,000 a year. The
Correct.
total contract is not to
over 3
exceed
years.
with
That's
the
a big
option to
difference.
extend
Okay.
3 years. So it could be 6 years.
Okay. So that to me just tells me right now that there's not enough to warrant a full FTE. So that answers all the questions. I thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm a little curious as well. So 3 years, $250,000 for this contract with West Coast Code Consultant, and it's on a need basis. So if we go 6-7 months without using them, are we paying them? No. So we're drawing from the 250,000 as they do the work.
Correct. We are only drawing from the 250,000 as they do the work for commercial projects.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? So I'll entertain a motion to approval for the county manager to sign and execute a 3-year contract with West Coast Code Consultants.
I so move.
So moved. Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair, just one comment on that real quick. This is something that will really change as annexation discussions come along too. So, because commercial won't be done a whole lot with the urban growth areas being annexed by the city. So I think contract model makes sense for sure.
Okay. Feel good about that.
Great. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for everybody's input.
Okay, moving on to, item 2 got pulled. So Public Works, Sarah Hansen and Jeremy. Hi.
Good afternoon. Jeremy Provenziola, County Engineer. We're here with a request to council for approval of a professional services agreement with OTAC for preservation guardrail and bridge rail. I have Sarah Hansen here with me, the project manager for this contract, and she can fill in any details that you might be curious about.
Okay, are there any questions or would you like to tell us something?
Sure, I can give a quick introduction. This is a contract that we are in need of we have actually 3 capital projects included in this one staff report. We issued an RFP in August 2024, and that RFP actually is to advertise 5 capital projects. So you will probably be seeing 2 additional contracts come through in early 2026 that are related to the same RFP. Anyway, we have 3 projects with several locations around the county that need a new guardrail or bridge rail. And in particular, this contract is related to bridge related work, which once again is structural engineering. And it's a specialty type of engineering discipline, which we do not typically have we don't have an FTE in Public Works either who specializes in that. This work is also includes some geotechnical work, which was mentioned by Ken, which is another type of specialty expertise. And then there's some environmental permitting work in their contract, as well as other things. So that is the basic, I guess I'm just trying to provide some background on why we are asking for this contract.
Thank you. Any question? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Chair? Yes. I'd like to move separate business item number 3.
Thank you for your motion. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, separate business item number 4. Danielle and Kevin, hello.
Good afternoon, Council. Kevin Tyler, Lands Management Division Manager, and with me is Danielle Cowley. This request is for approval of a capital project and authorizing the county manager to execute a purchase and sale agreement for property along Lake River, purchased by Legacy Lands. And Danielle is going to run through a little presentation that we have to show you more about the property.
Let's go into slide number 2. Okay. This map highlights the Pedersen property in teal on the northwest side of that map. And then the green block to the south is Green Lake, which is Legacy Lands. It borders along Lake River. The site is accessible from Krieger, just west of the county fairgrounds, for just reference. Next slide. In this photo looking north, the Pedersen property is centered in the frame with Lake River to the west, bounded by the BNSF railroad tracks to the east. The county has had a long-term vision to expand the Lake River Water Trail. This proposed acquisition would extend county ownership in the area currently close to the public access and create an opportunity for developed water access point on Lake River. This supports the 2012 Lewis River Vancouver Lake Water Trail Plan, and it aligns with the long-range goals identified in the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space, the Natural Areas Acquisition Plan, and the Parks Capital Improvement Plan. The county completed an appraisal in 2023 and presented a purchase and sale agreement to the landowner, Wellis Pedersen, who chose to defer the decision to her heirs. In October of 25, the estate trustees contacted the county to express a renewed interest in selling the property. The family has now executed the purchase and sale agreement and allowing the appraisal process to restart upon council's approval, with closing contingent on an acceptable appraised value. The property includes undeveloped shoreline, upland habitat that forms an important connection point to Lake River Water Trail. It is currently landlocked by the railroad tracks and the historic Fales Road right-of-way established in 1857, which also provides access to adjacent county-owned parks and nature land. Next slide. In the photo, Green Lake, a county legacy lands property is visible to the south with the Columbia River to the right. This request authorizes the county manager to sign the purchase and sale agreement for 23.8 acres owned by the Pedersen Living Trust in the amount of not to exceed $595,000 and allocate $55,000 for appraisals, due diligence, and access improvements for a total project cost of $650,000. It further authorizes the county manager to accept the statutory warranty deed, convey the property to the county, and execute amendments to the purchase and sales agreement and related closing documents. The adopted 2026 to 2031 capital improvement plan included a G Creek Flume Creek sub-area project budgeted for $750,000 in 2028. If this staff report is approved, the CIP, the capital improvement plan, will be amended through the 2026 fall supplemental budget and move this project forward and repurpose those funds for this particular acquisition. Next slide. And we just like to thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, this looks like a great habitat addition. I'd just like to learn a little bit more about public access and where the public access point would be across the railroad tracks and what kind of recreation would be allowed and not allowed, including hunting.
Yeah, so currently Northwest Fales Road is closed. It is owned by the County Roads Department. There is actually a bridge that goes under BNSF tracks to get to the parks property. And we would have to go through the master plan process and we'd have to look at updating the road to current standards for access. If this property is purchased, it would be accessible right now from Lake River today. Same with the parks property, but the intention is to improve and fix up that Fales Road contingent on the roads department and funding available. This property would be used mostly for kayaking, non-motorized boats, fishing. County by code is there's no hunting allowed on county properties.
Okay, so I heard that. So it would be boat access only right now with the intent to allow land access so it's more accessible to the public. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
And that is the family's wishes, by the way.
Go ahead.
I was wondering about the tunnel. So the tunnel access is access to our current owned property, but it's not contiguous to where people can access
It is
that way?
contiguous. Yes.
So they could
Yes,
access it?
You can access it
by
from
foot?
underneath, the bridge, underneath the railroad tracks. The road is pre-existing of the railroad going in. So it is an original road back in the day.
Okay. All right. I'm just, this is a great picture too, but the last slide was stunning. And so I look forward to that being available and accessible to the public.
The road does exist and the tunnel does exist. We have the road closed off currently because it's substandard and because of just past issues with parking and things of that nature out there. So those are things we need to work on.
Would there be a need to get any approvals from BNSF?
So we are working with BNSF currently because they had a project to modify that undercrossing and change it into more of a culvert structure. We believe that our rights precede that construction of the railroad. And so we're working on what that looks like moving forward.
Great. And this is a great picture because you see it in the context of other properties that are already, there's the Wildlife Refuge, there's the Columbia River Land Trust. This is a, piece of the puzzle that connects a wide swath of riparian habitat. And is this all a wetland floodplain?
Yes, it is.
Great. All right, thank you. Is there a motion on this one?
Yeah, I'll move approval of separate business item number 4.
I'll second. Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thanks for your work on this one.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, separate business item number 5. Okay. And Brett?
Hello. For the record, Jenny Coker, Deputy Director of Public Works, and I'm here today with Brett Gallup, Real Property Agent. And the requested action for you today is to execute a donation agreement with the Fountain Villages Estate Homeowners Association for donation of 0.88 acres, known as Tract G, and delegating the county manager to sign all necessary closing documents. And with that, I'll turn it over to Brett.
Thank you, Chair Marshall and Council. For the record, my name is Brett Gallup, and I am a Public Works Real Property Agent. This land donation by Fountain Village HOA was brought before Council on November 12th, 2024, at which time Council recommended that we have the donating HOA amend their declaration, removing their control of the lot before Clark County accepts the donation. In reaching an agreement with the HOA, we worked with their attorney and we drafted an amendment to the HOA declaration that was approved by Clark County Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Kevin McDowell. If Council approves of the proposed donation, then we will record both the quitclaim deed transferring the property and the amendment to the HOA declaration removing the property concurrently so that neither party is exposed. And at this time, we recommend that Council approve the resolution authorizing the county manager to sign the quitclaim deed, and we are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there a map that shows where this is offhand? Maybe not. That's okay. All right. Any questions?
It is in PIF District 6, if that's helpful, and it's in the Greater Clark Park District.
Perfect. Any questions from the council?
Chair.
Go ahead.
I'm definitely supportive of moving forward. Just a friendly reminder, it's very helpful on the staff report, if you can, put the previous touches that we and, the Parks Commission and whoever might have touched it in the past. It's very helpful for that continuous understanding of the whole process and for the public to be able to see that as well. But definitely supportive of moving forward with this.
Other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move approval of separate business item number 5.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Council.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, we're up to 6. Hello.
Good afternoon, councilors. I know it's been a long day for all of us, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Laura Henry Sly. I'm the Real Property Services Manager for Public Works, and with me I've got
Jeremy Provenziola, County Engineer, Public Works.
So, all right, you want me to lead up? Yes. Okay, so the matter I have in front of you today, I'm very excited to present to you because this has been a longstanding issue for the council and staff. And this is, we're asking, the matter that we have in front of you is a purchase and sale agreement and a quitclaim deed for tax parcel number 233275000, more affectionately known as tax parcel number 173. The background, let's go take down memory lane and honor Councilor Young's wishes for staff is that tax lot number 173 fell into default to unpaid taxes in 1998. The county
We sold it at auction. 1 year later, we bought it back, presumably because there were some boundary issues along with this piece of property, and we did that with the assistance of the PA's office. Last year, and maybe even before that, the neighboring residences were contacted council and staff about trying to help them solve this boundary line issue. And so staff conducted a thorough review of the chain of title, talked to surveyors, and ultimately we recommended in selling this piece of property to the Cloudbows, who their home is occupying tax 173. As a result, at the direction of the council, we hired an independent appraiser to determine the value of this piece of property. And because of all of the restrictions and the limitations of this piece of property, it was deemed unmarketable. Upon consulting our PA's office, they said that in order to sell this directly to Cloudbows, we needed to change the code. So staff went back to you folks on September 19th, and you adopted the revised codes of 2.33A in order for this allowed to happen. So we have a purchase and sale agreement in front of you. The consideration is $10. That is a requirement for a proper deed to be legally accepted. So we have that $10. It's been deposited in the treasurer's office. And so that leaves us today for asking your blessing and to get this matter behind us. And I promise you it would be done by the end of the year. And I can have full confidence that it will be recorded by the end of the year.
Great, thank you. I know this has been a long and twisted path to get to this point, and it was an issue that came to me early in my service, and this will then allow half a dozen property owners to correct their boundary lines, and they'll be very grateful for that. So thank you for your work on this, and I know the assessor's office was really the one that figured out what the problem was in the first place. So thanks to them as well.
Yeah, this is no longer, it's not tax title because we bought it back. It's not surplus property. It's an orphan. And so, yeah, it was a big lift on everybody's parts because I know treasurer's office will be happy off of this.
We'll all be happy.
Yes.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. I'll move approval of this item. Let's move that right along. Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, here we are on our last item before we get too giddy here on the dais. Public Works, Solid Waste and Recycling Division. Welcome back.
Good afternoon, Council. Ken Lader, Public Works Director for the record. The only reason I'm up here is I wanted to take a split second on our very last item for you today to introduce Joelle Loescher as our newest division manager for Public Works. We have restructured solid waste into a division which is completely appropriate and aligned with our business model with the organization, and very happy to have Joelle take over the leadership for that group officially. So with that, I'll turn it over to Joelle for today's business. So.
Well, welcome, Joelle, and congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you, Ken. Joelle Loescher, Solid Waste and Recycling Division for Public Works. Here today, we are asking for approval to sign an escrow agreement with the City of Vancouver and Columbia Resource Company. We further request approval for County Manager to sign the agreement and any resulting amendments. There's no budget impact for this request, and it's really just, we've taken a year to go back and forth with the Auditor's Office, with legal, with the City of Vancouver to get the language of this escrow agreement correct. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions?
Jenner?
Yes, go ahead.
I move to approve separate business item number 7.
Okay, thank you. Moved and seconded. People are eager at this point. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no.
Thank you,
The
Council.
ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, and with that, thank you all for your hard work today. With our agenda is complete, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned.